You hear me?
You are now entering Maximum Driftcast, the only drifting podcast hosted by a Spanish soccer mom, a 30-year-old silver-haired fox going on 60, and finally, a 200-pound bowl of spaghetti with chimichanga arms.
The champions, we are the champions.
And welcome to Maximum Driftcast, the only drifting podcast with me, Paco Ibarra, and
Me.
Corey Hosford.
What's up, everybody?
How you
What's up,
doing,
Paco?
buddy?
Good. It's been a little bit.
I know, man. It's
Been a minute.
like
It's been a minute.
I kind of like forgot what you looked like for a second.
We're here, though.
Last
We're
time
here,
I saw
though.
you were like a wee little lad.
Yep.
And
Tiny
now
little baby.
You're like a
Tiny little
full-grown
baby.
adult.
Yep. And we finally got rid of AI Sam. So
AI Sam,
Sam's gone.
Yeah, that didn't work at all, but I'm so happy that he's gone.
Oh, it's the best thing ever. It's
Corey,
absolutely the best. What's up?
We have a great show today.
Do we?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we just
When
gotta-
did we not have a great show?
I mean, every
though?
time, but it's just like we just keep outdoing ourselves. I don't know how this happens because like it takes us like 2 months to come with a new episode, so we better actually like do better. But I told you what, before we start the show today, I just want to like go through a list of I want to be more organized, and I have a list. And first, I want to thank our sponsors. First, I
Okay.
gotta sadly say that we lost our new sponsor, Flashlight.
Oh, okay. Why? Why?
They
Why?
pull out.
Okay.
Yeah, they're gone.
Okay.
They didn't like.
Okay.
Didn't like the jokes.
They didn't
Yeah.
like the pull out.
Yeah.
That's not a joke.
Yeah. No. I mean, they literally pull out from the sponsorship.
Okay.
So
Well, we'll recover. We'll
yeah.
rebuild. We'll
Well,
rebuild.
we got a new sponsor actually.
Who's that?
Yeah, we're gonna welcome Glide and Seek.
Glide and Seek?
Glide and Seek personal lubricants available in
Wow.
020, 1050, and it's the best kind of lubricant. Comes with
Wow.
all kinds of cleaning additives and
Get your Glide on. It's
yeah,
a personal lube.
It's all killer, no filler, like
Personal.
like
Wow.
Dylan
See,
says.
hey, bye-bye, Fleshlight.
Yeah, yeah.
Bye-bye.
That's
Don't
it.
need
We don't
that
need
no
that
more.
anymore.
Don't need
They have
that
the
no
high
more.
mileage version as well. So thank you, Glad and Seek
Wow,
personal
thank you
lubricant for
guys.
joining. Yeah,
That's a W, man.
and finally, I'm gonna just blow myself here and just
Whoa.
thank 2F Performance because 2F Performance sponsoring the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks myself.
How many DMs have you got of people asking for free parts?
All
Does
the
that
time.
actually work?
After
Has
every
it-
show,
has it been
I
working?
get a lot of DMs like, "Hey, I heard on Driftcast that you just have to message you, get a free
Okay,
kit."
so the offer still stands. If you guys want free body kits from 2F Performance, just DM Paco at 2F Performance. Let them know what you need, and they'll ship it out the same day.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Corey. All right,
Yeah, that's it.
Number 3 on the list, Patreon. We gotta thank
Oh
our
my goodness,
Patreons.
that's right.
Patreons, all you guys that survived COVID, that's still with us.
We barely survived.
Thank you so much for being still being a Patreon. If you want to become a Patreon, you just go patreon.com/MaximumDriftcast. And that's basically the only way we can make this show because I run out of money buying our new computer, Corey.
Oh yeah, that's it. We're done.
Yeah.
That's it. All in. We went all in on that new computer. It's a super computer.
It's like quantum.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's a neural net processor.
It's one of those like Elon Ma
Elon Musk.
dropped it off, in the drone and
beautiful,
yeah, it
beautiful.
was great.
Beautiful.
So thanks to our patrons. Thanks for joining us and being with us. If you're like, I'm gonna do the YouTube thing.
I don't
Okay.
know. Hold on. What is the YouTube
The
thing?
YouTube thing is like, if you like our content, you like what you're watching, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel because
Adam, does that work? Does that still work?
Wait, hold on. Adam's
Hold on.
not here yet.
No, he's here. We see him lurking. Adam, does
here?
that work?
Oh, Adam, wait, he's here. Oh, let's
Why
see.
are we doing this YouTube stuff? We have like the wizard of YouTube that can probably tell us if like that works still or doesn't.
I don't know, Adam, can you hear us?
Yeah. Have I been on this whole? Oh, okay, now I'm on.
Now you're on there. Hey, there you are. See, we just put you in the middle like that.
All right, I love that.
In
Yeah, no, it certainly works. When you can get people commenting on the videos, it shows the algorithm that people are liking whatever you're doing.
how do you rate my intro right now? Like you're a
be
I would say
honest,
a
just-
YouTube veteran.
Adam,
How was it?
rip him if it's bad. Just get him.
So it was like entertaining to watch. The problem is you guys just took too long.
Thank
so like
you.
if I was a new viewer that didn't know you guys, I would have probably turned it off already. And like I'm not trying to be mean by any means,
Brutal.
but like the first 5 seconds are the most important thing. And if you lose someone there,
Paco ruined the show again. Thanks, Adam.
it was. I mean, I enjoyed it, but
Paco
No,
tanked the
like
show.
I appreciate the brutal honesty, brother. Like,
Dude, we could do this critiquing with LZ on how bad
you
our
know
titles
what?
and thumbs are.
I'm just gonna do something, man. I'm just gonna crack myself a breezy.
You're gonna need it.
Yeah, because I need it after that brutal. Like, let me see if I can. How can I like
Drink.
oh,
He has to
this way?
drink his anger away of how long and boring his intro was.
Oh, dude, what the hell is this?
Paco, take the.
Ah.
Okay, see, Adam.
Oh,
you
yeah, see, now-
judge him. Now
I
he's
just
trying to
got
judge
you,
back.
I got you.
Don't
Dude,
don't
did
let
he
this.
shake it?
I did.
gotta
It's very
shake it.
good. It's like like I shaked
I
it.
didn't see you shake it.
Well, I shaked it off camera. Come on, we're not
Did you
amateurs
shake it on
here.
camera?
Yeah,
Earlier, he was giving one of these, just like
it's like it was like a shake weight.
double shake weight.
Because it'll settle if you don't shake it, and then it doesn't taste good.
Look, I'm like
That's a stir, bro. That ain't a
I
shake.
like stirred, not shaken.
Do you prefer pinky
Yeah.
up or pinky down? Does it matter if does that change the taste of the breezy if the pinky's up or down?
Nah, I couldn't
Does
tell you.
it just either way? Just adjustable flavors, just how you get that
Yeah,
pinky
and
extended and
exactly.
fully modular.
Adam, before we get into the meat and potatoes, what's your relationship with Breezy? You have it all over your car, and are there a sponsor?
Yeah, so it's pretty cool actually. My buddy Tommy, it's kind of like a brainchild of his, the whole formula and everything, and he kind of gave an opportunity to me and a bunch of the people in our friend group to kind of be an ambassador for the drink on a sponsorship level.
Nice.
So pretty cool.
I don't know if you noticed, but I got rid of my White Claw banner that I had on the back
And you replace
because I'm just open. I'm just letting you know, like
yeah,
we
Good
lost
to know.
sponsors.
we
you
lost
know.
White Claw, we lost Fleshlight,
we lost Fleshlight.
Paul's Plumbing.
Yeah,
we lost-
so I mean we're very.
I mean,
we're-
you're not off to a good start because your first set you
you
didn't do
spit it
great.
up.
This is my second one, by the way. I already had one off camera.
So
I
yeah,
really liked it.
long, boring intros. Paco's flopping partnership deals. All right, we might
All
as well
right.
shut this thing. down.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
start.
Thanks for joining us, Adam, by the way. I know you are a
course.
very busy gentleman. You started literally, your professional drifting career started 2 weeks ago when you totaled your car at St. Louis
Yep.
and then rebuilt it in 2 weeks. Basically built a new one. And then you made a promise on the internet, and you fulfilled it, and you went all the way to the podium. So, what does it feel like to be suddenly be a
Fortune teller.
Formula Drift superstar? It's a joke, obviously.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was a super cool moment. I think I was more stoked than anything just for the team and everyone that put in all the hours back home to build the car. Like, it was cool that we made it there and how stoked everyone was to see us there, but to put a new car on the podium, that was like the perfect end to that story. And I know it's not what you asked, but it was a really great moment.
No, man, like people wants to know what you think at the end of the day, not what I think or what I have to say. But it was pretty cool, dude. Like we were watching, St. Louis and watching you pull a, what do you call that? Kickflip, dark slide,
Yeah.
rail. What? I don't know nothing about skateboarding, so.
The rail grind on the K-Roll scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, you posted a lot of pictures of it. How it literally destroyed your.
It
car.
looked brutal.
Yeah, it looked
Yeah.
terrible.
How was it inside the car? Because you were saying that you barely felt it.
No, honestly, I've had so much worse crashes that like didn't look like anything at all. It was probably the equivalent of just like not even being on a roller coaster. It was just like, I don't know, the equivalent of just like driving up a bank, I guess.
That was a very steep back. That's like Bristol.
Yeah.
When you hopped out of the car, did you expect to see what you saw? Or were you like, oh, do you know what? It might be something smaller. Did you like kind of have this like, oh, we
No,
might be able to
I
get
had a
back into
feeling
this?
it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
The biggest issue was really that the wheel kind of like jacked itself into the chassis, which I obviously didn't know at the time. But yeah, perfect screen grab.
Thanks, Brian.
But if it wasn't for that, I feel like the chassis might have actually even been okay because everything was pretty soft. Like, I'm really thankful that it didn't puncture the fuel tank. The titanium exhaust sparking on the Jersey barrier next to a fuel tank that was right there could have been really bad. Yeah, no, the stock fuel tank we now know can hold up to a 50-50 grind.
I think
Damn.
that's a testimony of how durable the T37 is. Like real wheels are, you know, like it just crushed the car, but the wheels stayed together. I mean, there was some damage obviously, but
It's like kind of almost a bad thing that I've learned this year because I've now broken and bent a trailing arm twice, which is like unheard of in E36 land. But because my wheels are so strong, instead of breaking my wheels, I'm like bending things that shouldn't bend.
Yeah, that's a good point.
it's a price. It's a price for being a hot boy, you know, having the baller wheels.
But on the same token, there's been times when I've been able to finish a battle, like with Ben,
Yeah.
where if I had broken a wheel, I wouldn't have been able to finish the battle. But with a messed up alignment, I can still finish a battle. So
True. It's a give take. It's definitely a give take.
Yeah.
That's an interesting analogy. Yeah, because a lot of people design parts for them to dissipate.
At least a lot of
that
people
energy.
claims that their parts are made to break apart.
Yeah, so it saves
But-
the chassis, but
Yeah, but that's true. Like, I mean, it depends, right? Like, if you can make the battle or not, even if with bad alignment. I guess it depends, right? Like on the impact. I don't think there was nothing you could have salvaged out of that crash, man. But
yeah,
like, I mean, if you haven't landed and kept going, yeah, I'm pretty sure like that would have been it. Like, you know,
No.
like
Oh, yeah.
heavy metal.
Yeah, catastrophic.
Uh,
I want to say this. So
sorry.
after obviously you got on the car, you see the damage. At what point did you say, "Do you know what, we're done for the season"? Because you did announce that like this was it. This was done for you.
yeah. I mean, it was already. I went to St. Louis with the notion that was like basically, hey, if I podium, I'm going to do the rest of the season. If I don't podium, I'm basically going to call it. Just funding wise, this season, since I was only really planning on doing 2 rounds, even going to St. Louis for me was a stretch.
Yeah.
So I was like, look, I'm only going to really keep things as tight as they are right now if I podium and I'm in the points. So when that happened, and now a car needed to be entirely rebuilt, it was kind of like, look, like I can't just keep holding on to hope of continuing on for the season. This is my sign. Chill, you're done.
I mean, I would have felt the same. Like right away, it's like look at the car, like oof.
Has to be, yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously has to be frustrating, but also the competitor in you. You know, like this, you're coming into this literally sitting the points, probably the best you've had.
was-
But I'm sure there was
yeah,
that
he-
little demon on your shoulders, like, dude, but things are shaking up. This is just a little speed, but I'm sure you had that itch still, obviously. And then you got to a point where it's like, did you say you were going to try to do some merch stuff, or what made you want to say we're getting back into this? Because you almost announced you were out, but what caused you to say, do you know, we got to dive back in?
So no matter what, I wanted to come to Irwindale, and the notion after that was like, okay, either we're gonna build another car and bring it to Irwindale, and that'll be like its first test round, but it'll be nice rather than bringing it to Long Beach next year to kind of like, you know, build the
Yeah.
car a bit faster, or bring the old FD car out, the S15, to Irwindale, slightly as a media tactic, you know, like it's good promotion to be
Yeah.
there. You know, there's a good fan base at Irwindale, and I like the track. Utah is not a track that I'm really in love with. So I was like, you know what? There's no point in rushing for Utah.
Mhm.
Let's just go to Irwindale. Seattle was totally out of the cards because it was so soon that I was like, not even a thought. I love Seattle and I would have loved to have gone, but it's like, look, we have no car.
Yeah. And not including you're going to be gone a week going to what? You're in Riga? Where were you at just recently?
Yeah, no. While
Yeah.
the guys rebuilt the car, I was in Riga
Yep.
the entire time. So I was there for like the first like day or two when basically the whole entire idea came about. Literally just because we bought an M3, hoping that would be the next chassis. Started digging into it, and that car had some damage, and we're like, this isn't the one. We're getting frustrated because we couldn't find a car for a good deal. And Joel, who does media for Drift HQ,
Yep.
happened to have a pro car he was building, beautiful cage kit set up in it, that he was down to sell. And once that car became an option, that's when we were like, damn, like we could kind of reshell this car and maybe even get it done by Seattle. So this has happened before where I'll kind of like, I'll put an idea out in the air with the guys, and I'll kind of see how they react to it. Either they're like, they get really stressed out and they're like, no way, not possible. Or they get really hyped up and they're like, let's do it. And everyone got hyped up and was like, let's do it. So I just kind of fueled the fire and I was like, sick, we're going to Seattle.
Dude, that's even a great story.
Yeah,
Do you know what's sad about what you just said too is now trying to find an E36 chassis.
Yeah.
It's getting harder, obviously. But
Yeah. They're there. It's just like, it's tough. Like, obviously I didn't want to spend money on a running driving car. So I was
Yeah.
trying to find the cheapest whatever 323 or something that existed. We wound up getting an M3 just because it was such a good deal that as a part out car we could double our money.
Oh, perfect.
But I mean, they're out there. I just would have had to spend like $2,500 on a car that I would have had to strip entirely, that already had an engine, etc.
Because this one was already caged, was already, I mean,
Clean,
dude,
no rust.
dude, like
Beautiful.
the like luck, man. Like, cause I mean, and you said this is somebody who worked for you, right? What's his name?
Yep, yeah, Joel. So
Yeah,
he,
dude,
he
like-
basically got inspired by my Blue E36 and wanted to build a lightweight car of his own. Got about, as far as the car was, and just realized how expensive it was going to be to finish the car. So he was kind of already on the fence. So I didn't want to push him too hard because I was worried that he might have some attachment and regret letting go, but he was
Yeah.
pretty excited at the idea and
Yeah.
knowing what that car could do for us. So
And
it worked out.
Yeah, it did create a pretty wild story.
It did. Yeah.
My other question too is this, because you said you were thinking about taking the S15 to Irwindale. It would
Yeah.
have been equally as cool to take the S15 to Utah.
So the reason why I didn't take the S15 to Seattle or even consider it as an option, right now it has no transmission in it. The engine is it's in, but it's half disassembled. The car needs to get converted to the new Wise Fab with the front rack. It needs a solid, it would have needed, in my opinion, as much time as we put into reshelling the E36 to get it
Really?
competitive.
Wow.
I mean, think about it. That's also like that car is from 2019, right? Have you and actually, well, you drove that car on Pro on 2020, but do you feel that the spec has changed enough in these 3-4 years, where like that car is kind of like slightly outdated?
No, I think the car would have done great. The biggest thing it would have needed is I wouldn't have had time to move weight around, but that car's got a little bit too much weight in the rear for my preference. I've heard people rave about the new front rack Wise Fab, so I think that would fix a lot of the steering issues that I had with that car. And then just targeting a lighter weight would have been necessary for the 285 that I run. And also I would have, it's got a 3-liter in it right now, just a simple piston rod motor. I would have taken my 3.4 out of the E36 and put that in there. I've not had great luck. I should say I've not had great luck. I'm just not a fan of the 3-liter stuff because you become a lot more reliant on nitrous. So when it fails, kind of puts you in a worse spot than a 3.4 without nitrous still works.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I mean, the important thing is that you went to, you made it in 2 weeks, which is, I still, I don't watch blogs usually, and I'm not trying to, butter you or anything, but your blogs have been definitely a lot more entertaining and more informative than other blogs that are out there. So definitely, just throwing it out there.
I appreciate that.
Other people's blogs are just like, yeah.
Well, like at this point, it was like, as watching it now too, because I was watching it too. It's like it's storytelling now, right?
Yeah.
Now there's a story.
Yeah.
Like now I have to follow this because I'm so
Invested.
engaged in the
Yeah,
story
it's
that you created from that I think it was actually super well put together.
Exactly.
And that's
it's
a
like,
lot of what people miss when they do. And once again,
Yeah.
obviously I'm not a YouTube guy by any means, but you could tell yourself as a viewer, as an audience, like you want to like see that journey and that story because then it's like a movie, right?
Yeah.
Beginning, the problem, the middle, the end, the reward, and you're just gratified. Now, that's what
you're just waiting for the next season.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
been awesome.
it
It's been
is
awesome.
definitely been very interesting following up. Like it's almost like scripted, like, oh no, I totaled my car. Oh, look at that, I'm in 7th place. Maybe it's worth, like giving it a push. And look at you now, 5th with a podium. Which
Yeah, no, I mean, I couldn't have written a better movie script. Like really the way that things played out. And, there is some intentionality in that, right? Like you see an opportunity like that where,
love it.
you could turn a really negative situation into something good and kind of like see where it takes you, right? If we didn't finish the car or if we just showed up with a car completed, it still would have been cool, but it's even cooler that we podium.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing too is I didn't really lean into it that much in the videos, but for the most part, that car was built too just during the workday. There wasn't even really any late nights or like after hour stuff, except for the last like 2 or 3 days. It was pretty much just like typical come into work on the car. The dudes are just like really that good.
Yeah, how many of these have they built? So I'm sure they probably have like a super cookie cutter plan, and the process is pretty copy paste. It seems like, or
Yeah, and so the funny thing is Johan and Owen, who I would say are the most well versed in building my E36s, they were both in Riga with me. So it was really Sean kind of headlining this project back home, and he's probably the least knowledgeable on the E36 stuff. obviously he's been around the car, so he knows it. But
Sean Booth,
he really,
right?
yep. So he really kind of took charge, and then all the guys over at Drift HQ stepped in. Freddie came, helped with a bunch of the wiring stuff, and went through the engine to make sure all that's good. Everyone really just came together and kind of just made a really, really great team.
Dang. It's crazy to think about, man. And I don't want to keep going around the circles on this, but it's just saying, not just watching you as a driver, but like watching you from your first season privateer team to now you running your own privateer team. It's dramatically different. Completely different U-turn from where you were from the first 2 seasons.
Well, yeah, he started big rig, big, like tents and everything.
All in.
Then RTR, even bigger. And now you're running from a very humble,
simplistic
like
program.
Small car trailer, very, very nice, simple setup. And dude, like,
You can say my trailer sucks because my trailer is gross.
I don't think you've seen my trailer. You want to see trailers that suck?
My trailer is gross, but it was like right during COVID when trailer prices went crazy. I wanted like a nice 2-car enclosed, and it was just like $60,000 for an enclosed, and this one popped up. It was like $8,000. She's been treating me good.
Load it up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, there you go.
What changed from your first season until your first season of the privateer to this season of the privateer? You're like, man, I need to change all this. Like, what did you have to kind of go through or say, this is what I want different compared to those years?
Really simple. I did a budget to see how much I spend going to events.
That's like a briefcase in one hand and then just a small little bag in the other.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's it.
Let's look at the numbers.
I'm sure you can imagine, but like the big rig, obviously the upkeep, it takes you longer to get places. You don't have a truck that you can detach and use. Everything about it creates more headache. You spend more money in fuel. And the biggest issue is like the idea of it's so cool because you can sleep in it and it saves you hotel costs, but you usually fly with a big team and you just stay in hotels anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's almost pointless other than the
right.
CDL exemption of being able to drive it because it's technically an RV. So much more work to load, to set up. It just makes everything more difficult.
Do you know what's funny is like I heard rumors back in the day after you were announced to go to RTR, people were saying, oh yeah, the reason why LC wants to go to RTR is just to kind of get the weight off his shoulders of running his own team, that he just wants to kind of just show up and arrive and drive. Was that a part of your factor of like having the big rig in your own team? Was that too much stress and that you figured that you would be better off just as an arrive and drive? Like, was that part of that transition or no?
Yeah, 100%. I think, when I was running my own team, both myself as a leader and my team was a lot less knowledgeable kind of about what we were doing. So it required a lot more time. We were going through more engines. We were having more car and setup issues. We really just didn't know, right? And the biggest issue was that was also my team back home, to where going and competing and doing FD also meant that I had to sacrifice all the stuff going on back home with YouTube that was really the breadwinners, the stuff of making videos. And I couldn't really do both. So by going over to RTR, it let me still kind of pursue what I wanted to do in racing with one of the best teams in the world, while not having to essentially close the doors at my shop to do so.
What's crazy is that, I have the transcripts right here.
Paco has like 12 pages of notes over here.
I'm like looking, your first year in Prospec, rookie year, finished 7th, privateer.
Okay.
Straight up went to pro, finished 12th.
Your first year in pro, you finished 12th?
Yeah,
that is awesome.
I don't want to say I got lucky, but the lack of qualifying, because I think it was just like random qualifying order for that year. It was like the COVID year.
Yeah.
That definitely helped. And also back-to-back double headers, I think every round. Traditionally, I was never good at a new track right off rip. So having double the practice at every event, I think I usually did better the second time.
Yeah. Yeah, but everybody...
That is actually still impressive, though, 12.
No, it is. But at the end of the day, everybody else is in the same situation than you are. And yet you still finished 12th your first year. I just remember, like, everybody just talking mad shit on the internet. Oh, YouTuber doesn't belong in Formula Drift. Like, let the driver do the driving. Look at that. First year in pro, finished 12th. It's like, you can't make that up. Like, it's not like, like Forsberg threw the towel, or like whoever you battle, like they're gonna give you a pass. It's Adam is gonna let him win. That doesn't happen.
No, you still got to battle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even though you finish 12th, you still have to do
Yeah,
your battles.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, he got there by his own
Still
driving. Yeah, exactly.
I think it's crazy because I look back at those days and I don't think I knew a fucking thing about how to drive.
Dude,
Like I think back to the stuff that I know now, and I look back and I was like, not that I was getting lucky, but I just felt like, you know, there's probably a lot of it that was just like overconfidence, but really having no clue what's going on and just driving. Now, the amount that I know and understand about driving is like, I feel like 4x that year.
And obviously having that knowledge reflects in how you drive the car, right? Like obviously being
Sure.
more aware in the knowledge of the team and the car, just it you know, just goes through into the actual driving. Yeah.
I mean, I think driving is like 30% of it. I think 70% is the team and the setup, and both as like a team leader and understanding setup now. Like then, like I said, I had no clue. I was just asking other people, and someone might tell me something that works, someone might tell me something that doesn't work. Now, being able to show up at a track and kind of figure out what a car needs just based on experience, that is the missing link more than anything.
Do you feel you learn a lot of this from your experience with RTR?
Oh yeah, so much. You know, we're constantly making huge changes with those cars, and the Mustangs were so dynamic. Getting to be on the same team as someone like Chelsea and hearing his thoughts and kind of how he sets cars up and his methodology as a driver, absolutely it impacted me in a drastic way. I mean, you could see it right as soon as I started driving that team. That's when I started winning everything in my E36 back home.
Yeah, so you went from obviously in 2020 you're pro, you went to 12th, and then your first year RTR you finished 21st in points, and then 2022 you finished 25th in points. 2023 you finished 27th in points. So you went from coming off a top 12 down to the lower bracket, middle of the bracket. What do you think happened there? On you switched teams, you're gaining tons of knowledge now. Now you're driving probably the most wound up drift cars in the world. But what do you think played a role into that finishing?
Yeah, so the last year of my own team, we were pretty focused on making more power. So we went from making like 850, 900 horsepower to like 11 something. We tried some kind of wild stuff with 3-liter. I just kind of let Freddie run free, and we did a big cam, high revving engine that had a giant turbo and was really relying on nitrous. And we never really had the boost control that we needed to be able to add the mid-range. That combined with the new tire, we went to the 315 and didn't really understand the setup that was needed to make that tire work on that chassis. I had a car that was basically an on-off switch that also didn't have the chassis set up very good. So my S15 that year was like incredibly tough for me to drive. I think I probably didn't qualify at a decent amount of the rounds. I just struggled to even just do the same lap every single time. And then going into RTR, you know, like it's no secret that those cars aren't the easiest cars in the world to drive. I think they're consistently one of the fastest on the grid in FD. And James is proving, as did Chelsea, as did Vaughn, that it's absolutely a winning car. But with that being said, I think you need to be twice as good of a driver as whoever you're going against to be able to really extrapolate the sweet spot of what's inside of those things.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I mean, I guess everybody heard from everybody who's driven these cars that they're not the easiest to drive, but clearly there's something about him because Vaughn, you know, he won. He came back from like, I'm just not going to drive to, I'm going to drive and I'm going to win. And then, you know, like James Dean's been killing it this year. I just feel like the setup on these cars is very, very specific, right? There has to be like something, some secret sauce that you have to just fine tune and get and just like become one with a machine. But I mean, we've seen even Vaughn posted a video this year about all the issues that have been going with Ben Hobson's car, which I guess it was Chelsea's car before. So I'm pretty sure there's a lot of things that were going on internally. But did you experience a lot of like internal issues, or is more like too much car or not enough setup? Like what do you think specifically was your I don't want to say detachment because that sounds negative, but like
no, it was great. I think I understand what you're asking. You know, like I said, the cars are not easy to drive. I think the best way that I've explained it to people is I can drive an E36 intuitively. I don't really need to think. It just does the things that my brain is trained to do from learning how to drive in the manner that I would expect. the Mustangs have some characteristics where you really need to be consciously thinking about what you're doing. And I never got to the point where I could subconsciously drive that car. I had to be really thoughtful of like, okay, make sure to stay in the throttle here, make sure not to do this here. And if you slipped up and you drove from your gut instead of really thinking through it, it was challenging. I did have some car issues, nothing obviously as crazy as what Ben's going through this year, but also nothing abnormal that you wouldn't see with any other team.
Do you I was thinking like, do you? Shit, I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Did you enjoy driving that car in comparison to your S
exactly.
chassis? Like, it's obviously the drivability is different, and then a lot of people's like, some of the analogy is, you know, people like driving different chassis for that different characteristics, right? Did you enjoy that style of driving?
It was a very large challenge, and I enjoyed the challenge because it made me a better driver. I wouldn't say that I drove that car and was like, yes, this is my favorite thing to drive ever. But I knew that putting in the time and the work to like figure out those cars and extrapolate what they have inside would make me a better driver in whatever I wanted to do for the rest of my life, whether it was drive a Mustang or drive something else. I've equated it to people like, you know, it's like training with sandbags on your back. If you can do it in that car, you can hop in something else, and you know, it might be a little bit easier. But they're amazing cars. Like I said, it's just, you know, Vaughn, that's what he knows. That's what he's driven his whole life. So it's very easy for him to probably extrapolate the goodness inside of that thing intuitively. But for me, it was just a bit more of a challenge, as, you know, I'm sure it is for Ben this year too.
Dude, and the fact that even Ford takes feedback from Vaughn in order to, you know, like make their new cars, like that's incredibly impressive. You know, like when they were like developing the electronic e-brake for the current generation, that's super cool. Like, imagine the level of attachment to a vehicle where you're the user and you're telling the factory, you know what, it would be cool if we can have like an electric e-brake. You know,
oh my God, we got Vaughn's in the studio.
Juan Getting
Jr.
Yeah.
You put the e-brake.
No, it's super cool. I got to actually go with them to Ford when they were helping develop basically like a fun version of traction control. So that way it doesn't have too many nannies, but it still has some nannies. And it was really cool getting to interact with the engineers, and they really care about the end user, and they want to make the Mustang as cool and as enjoyable of a car as possible. So
that's pretty cool.
It's very, very cool. And it was definitely a highlight of my drifting career, being able to be a part of such an amazing team.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because there's only been, 4 people now that's actually been with Vaughn in that car. Not many people. So you got Hobson, Denofa, LZ, James Dean.
Yeah.
Vaughn.
And yeah.
So that's it. Now let me ask you this. So now when you hop back in, so you go through those 3 years, you hop back into your E36 and you said something like you were driving those cars and it wasn't very intuitive. Did you hop back into your E36 and be like, oh my God, this is it? Like, was it just a light switch? Was it just a feeling?
Not really. I think the biggest thing was just, you know, driving the Mustangs taught me to be full throttle everywhere, because that was when they were the easiest to drive.
Yeah.
So then I would drive my E36 and I would just fuck everyone up because I was driving full throttle everywhere. And doing that on a car that was making pretty good power, was pretty light, and had a good tire on it, it was a weapon. It was crazy. I think I almost would have gone an entire year not losing a single battle if I didn't rear end one guy at one of the clutch kickers rounds. It would have been an undefeated car.
Just wound up, ready to go, lead foot hopping out of the RTRs.
It was sick. Those cars taught me a lot.
Dude, that's the thing. It's like, you know, because a lot of people say, oh, just drive under horsepowered cars, you know, start slow, start low horsepower, struggle a little bit. Sometimes you agree having some of that struggle or at that moment of like, dude, this is not as easy. Do you feel like people need to experience those moments more in drifting to kind of develop them?
It just depends on what your goals are, right? And there's like different ways to approach the same thing. I think a great example is look at the bank at Seattle. Yep. You could leave that bank not on throttle and just kind of like drive down the bank, or you could leave that part on throttle and use angle to slow yourself down. Both get you where you need to go. Both might be the same speed, but they have different results and implications based on how you drive. Because of the Mustangs, I just try to drive everywhere on track I can full throttle. In fact, it actually became a game where I was trying to, we would look at the logs as a team, and I'd always be trying to get my TPS value as flat as Chelsea's, because Chelsea would be like foot to the floor the whole track, and I would always be like, Chelsea, look at my log. How'd I do? How'd I do? How'd I do?
Just like,
He's
creeping up.
He's like, you gotta pump the numbers up. Those are rookie numbers.
Come on, pump them up, champ. Pump them up, champ.
Well, the first year, I was driving the Mustang like a turbo car. Because, you know, a turbo car, you get 80% of your power at 50% throttle. Or an NA car, you get 50% of your power if you're 50% throttle.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big issue of mine. I just wasn't committing enough to the throttle because I was so used to driving turbo cars my whole life.
Interesting. I mean, I guess like a lot of people don't think about those things, right? Like just like the power delivery, everybody just thinks the top number, 1,000 horsepower. That's what it is, but it's not the same when in the pedal you're making that kind of power, because some vehicles gives you more flexibility of where you want to be.
See, I'm thinking different than you because I'm thinking of like the RTR car. I'm thinking qualifying, right? You got to be full throttle all the time. Is that going to be a higher judged run because it's forcing you to be committed for a longer time? Versus another car, like you were saying, it's maybe just like use angle, scrub speed. It gets you the same destination, but now is it judged different? So like you can look at both cars and it's like, how's that going to be interpreted by the judges too? So it's like, not only do you look at the setup and drivability, but now you look at the interpretation of what the judges see. Because obviously anytime you see an RTR car in qualifying, you're like, oh, that was bananas, because literally things just eating itself alive, full throttle. And then you'll see another car where it is, you know, has to be a little bit more modular on the throttle to get it to respond. And that is interpreted a little bit differently through the judge's eyes, right? So it's like you not only look at the drivability, but you look at the perception of being in the stands or being in the audience or being in the judges.
Which in my opinion, even delivery influences the perception.
Maybe this people, but obviously judges look beyond that. But I'm just saying it's a package thing. But I'm just looking at like the drivability between the two cars. The RTR car almost forces you to like put 100-point rundown, right? If you're not committed and that thing's not blowing the rear tires off of it, then you're going to be fighting it. On the other hand, then you have the other cars that don't look exciting as qualifying as RTR cars, but you can get to the places where you need to be.
But there's no more qualifying anymore, so. What do you think about not having qualifying, Adam? Because I guess as a fan, I love just watching more battles. But
yeah, I mean, I would say it's probably one of my favorite changes that Formula Drift has ever made. And the best example for me was Long Beach. I lost my top 32 battle, but I came home from that event feeling like I won the whole event because I had such great battles in the seating bracket with Connor Shanahan and felt like I really proved myself as a driver that even going out, I was so hyped up from that event. I had great media that it just totally changed the dynamic where, you know, if I hadn't qualified or I had qualified and just gone on the top 32, you leave kind of like I didn't even get a chance to show what I'm capable of, right? And for a lot of these underdog drivers, I think being able to compete in the seating bracket is a huge advantage. You've got more competition practice. You get to see how the judges are treating certain things. Like it's a huge, huge advantage going into the battles.
Do you think, I mean, and speaking of like you battling Connor Shanahan, because he's also on an E36. What is it about the BMW chassis that seems like so like they just look so fast? Like, is it the trailing arms that gives you consistent traction, more acceleration?
What I like about the E36, and it is really the trailing arm that makes it do the things that I like, and it's really just the way that it delivers grip. The best way I can explain it is if I compare it to an S chassis, which is a little bit more knife edge at a high grip level. You know, when you're gripped up and you get on the throttle, the whole thing it kind of just like hooks really. It's got a lot of instant bite. Where the E36, it just kind of bleeds into the grip really nice. So even when my car is hooked up on full kill, it doesn't feel drastically different because it kind of slowly slams that wheel into the ground throughout the corner. And it's just really easy to drive. It was actually the first time I ever drove it. I got out of the car and I was like, man, this thing's slow. It was like one of my first days at the OSW skid pad. I was like, I don't know what people are raving about in this thing. And Pat Gooden's there and he's like, his mouth's on the floor. He goes, that was the fastest lap I've ever seen on the skid pad. And I'm like, you're joking, dude. I'm like, this thing's so slow. And he goes, no, you're wrong. And sure enough, it was so easy to drive at that speed that it just felt slow.
Pit crew Pat was probably 12 breezies in, sitting in the grandstands, watching LZ shred on a stopwatch like a NASCAR crew chief.
You can't argue with Gooden, man.
No,
like he'll set you.
Jack
he knows.
Roush, the Jack Roush out there. Just slamming breezies, timing LZ's lap, dude.
Another one.
Yeah, riveting again.
Send Nice.
Dude, the way you said that, yeah, that's what I envisioned when you said Pat. Yeah.
Dude, well, I mean, let's jump on Seattle.
Yep.
Because I guess, I mean, did you felt any difference between the wrecked car and this car? Did they felt just like the same? Like,
I'm convinced that the new car has like a fuckload more grip. It doesn't make any sense. And typically I would say, it's got to just be the track or something, whatever. The way that I, as a driver, can like tell a car's balance is in the burnout box. That's when I know if I have the right front to rear grip ratio. If like, the car is too pushy, then okay, the balance is off. And as an example, the old car, I knew what it felt like. This car, to feel the same way as the old car in the burnout box, I needed to air the fronts down a lot. I needed to air the rears up a lot. And I needed to take the front sway bar off. So I'm taking a lot of grip out of the rear, adding a lot of grip to the front, and it still felt like I had more grip than the other car. So it's, you could attribute it to, maybe one burnout box has more grip than the other, but the balance, it doesn't matter whether the burnout box has grip or doesn't, the balance still feels the same. So my theory is that somehow it's just that much more rigid than the other car, which was maybe really weathered or been hit so many times, or the cage isn't tied in as well. And I think the chassis just probably flexes less, so it transfers more grip to the rear and takes away grip from the front.
Yeah, so the fabrication in the new car obviously wasn't much different than the previous car, because you said there was a cage kits in it?
Yeah, so we did pretty much the same reinforcements underneath that we do on the rear end. The main difference would be that the cage allowed for the addition of a rear strut tower reinforcement. My other cage, it didn't allow that because of where the down bars are ran. So the rear strut towers are tied together and also braced to the subframe, which was like added to the FD rulebook, I think, at some point. That, and then this cage, I would need to look at it to compare exactly where it's tied into the chassis, but it's probably tied in maybe in a few more points than the other cage was, but nothing drastically different. So maybe that rear strut tower tie-in made that big of a difference, or maybe the other car was just weak and old and flimsy from so much use.
Yeah. So what was?
the
other
car
chassis? Was the old chassis like a 328? What was it?
Yeah. So the old chassis was technically a 323.
Yeah.
The new chassis was an M3, but we have the subframe reinforcement, so that shouldn't really matter.
Yeah.
But as just something to let simmer in your mind, I used to go through a windshield in event with the old chassis because it twisted so much before I switched to polycarbonate. It was cracking front windshields.
So that makes sense on some of the questions that we're going to go through these questions at the end of the show.
God.
But this is making sense now about like you breaking welds of the car to make the flexing. It's like you're not shitting around. Like you're literally going through windshields.
Yeah, no, like our windshield guy, I would joke with him about having like a frequent windshield card, because every single round at Clutch Kickers back in the day, I'd come home with a cracked windshield. And Chelsea later told me that on the E36, the problem was I tied in the A-pillars, but not the roof. So to avoid that, you're supposed to tie in that roof bar, because what happens is it flexes and twists and cracks the windshield. Now, the new car doesn't have that roof bar tied in either, but it also doesn't have a glass windshield. So, But on the Europe car, when we built that one, we tied in, that cage is tied in way more than both of these cars.
Dude, that's interesting. Like, just basically, I mean, I've said this in the past, and like a lot of people are like, no, you're full of shit. But I always thought that when a car has a cage that's like very well tied against the car, when the whole car gets tied together by the car, the suspension just immediately becomes more alive, more immediate, right? That's not, like it's not nonsense.
The simplest way to think about it, right, is if, let's just say the chassis is twisting more, it's allowing the front to have a better contact patch, so the front has more grip. Yep. Now, if the front is twisting, that means that it has less of a jacking effect on the rear of the car, because it's not pushing from that front corner in the back. Yep. It's pushing up instead. So it makes sense. Is it all in my head? Possibly. But I'm convinced that chassis has definitely got a little bit of extra something in it.
A little extra sauce turned up in it. Yep.
Yeah. Because you guys, in FD, you're not allowed to connect tubes from the
firewall
strut pipe, from the strut towers to the cage, right? Like, it needs to be Do you think?
I wish we could. That's a big thing for E36s.
Do you think it will be even better if you could do that?
I don't feel like I have enough experience to give an educated opinion on that, but I do know that it would probably prevent some of the minor, let's say, strut tower moving crashes from happening.
Well, I think you're a humble man, because I think if anybody knows this, it will be you, because you drive a lot, man.
Yeah, well, I've never driven an E36 back-to-back with one that has a bar reinforcement. I mean, Chelsea's the guy to ask that. He'll be like, oh, I've driven 4 cars with the bar and 3 without. One, it was 2-inch OD. The other one was 1-inch OD. And
yeah, we couldn't get him to shut up last time we had him on the show. So let's not encourage him, because he'll go for hours.
Oh, he'll be nonstop on that.
Yeah.
he knows everything about everything.
Bro,
it could be the most random thing. It could be lawnmowers, and he'd be like, oh, yeah, I got a special model.
I put 4 engines in that one.
Got an angle kit in my life.
The blade on that sucker, 6 horsepower.
Yeah. So, top 32. Battle against a BMW E46. You went against Thorn. Thorn, I think he came out of he came in swinging into pro. He's been looking pretty strong. And it looked like a very pretty tough battle for you. I mean, you obviously, spoiler alert, you won. But what can you say about that battle? It seemed pretty close, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I led first, and I think he made a pretty big mistake on one of the corners where he was pretty shallow and almost straightened. So Duarte, who was spotting for me, my partner at Drift HQ, he told me, don't push too hard, do a good solid chase, but just don't make any big mistakes, and it should be an easy win. So I did just that. I didn't really push hard. I didn't try to door him anywhere, but I just tried to do, a 20% better run than him. And that's been a big change also in my driving, is not just driving full balls to the wall all the time, because I used to do that and sometimes it would bite me. Just trying to be strategic and not push it too hard.
That's the infamous Chelsea to Nofa takeout. The only person that beats Chelsea's Chelsea. Dude is,
yeah.
And
No, I mean, it was, again, I learned a lot from him. And he would get frustrated when he would drive to win, because he would want to be driving at 110% all the time to show how badass of a driver he is. Yeah. But then he'd get fucked by the rule book or by another driver doing some weird shit.
Yeah. Or by himself at the end. Yeah.
It's demotivating when that happens.
Let me ask you that, since he just brought it up. Do you feel like stuff and strategy and weird shit are still happening? Are people still talking about that and people experiencing that in the series?
What do you mean?
You said when people are doing weird shit. Is that just other drivers doing weird shit, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily like they're doing weird shit to mess with you. They just might be how they drive,
Just different.
But as a driver, you might have an opinion that weird shit is frowned upon, or it's not the way to be driving. Okay. And there's people that do weird things on transitions. There's people that do weird things on the run up. There's people that do weird things everywhere on track. It could also be just a style, and it's just weird to us, right? Yeah. But everyone drives different.
Yeah, that's an interesting analogy, especially Seattle, because Seattle, and the reason I brought this up is because Seattle has a tendency to always have that weird run up. There was actually a point, I don't even know if it still is, I'm assuming it is in FD, where they have that center line, where if you cross over the center line, because everybody would do these crazy flick Manje halfway across the course. Obviously, that is some weird shit that would throw the chase driver off, and the positioning. There's obviously strategy in that, but there's also just, that's what they're comfortable doing. And as a driver, you have to kind of respond to what that lead car is doing, and maybe unorthodox or unnormal to you, but it's just, it could be weird in any way.
Yeah, one of the things that I saw you doing very consistently is, I don't know what kind of, is it a button, is it a lever, or is there something that you do, but you have a lot of angle and then just suddenly smash even more angle. And everybody goes crazy. Gerald goes crazy. Jacob starts choking. It just looks super, super gangster. And I don't know what
that's a trailing arm right there.
That's a trailing arm?
Yeah, you pull the handbrake, and it doesn't really slow down. It just sucks the wheel up into the chassis, and frees it up a bunch. And if I didn't do that, I mean, it's hilarious how bad that practice was for me. I would say 9 out of every 10 runs, and I probably did 11 runs there, I went flying off the track and couldn't leave the bank because I just couldn't add angle. I was trying to do it without touching the handbrake, and the car was just so locked in that I would just go flying off track.
Yeah, that was a funny thing, because it seemed like you just kept overshooting the track all the time. And you were saying on your blog, I just can't get the car off the bank.
Yeah.
So what was it? What was the change?
I just had to handbrake, and I had to handbrake way sooner than I wanted to, or I couldn't rotate the car.
It looks so gangster.
Still look good.
It looks so
Still look
fucking
really good.
cool. What do you thought about that hanging clipping zone? It looked like Forza.
I remember when they first added it, it was super helpful.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really notice it this last round, and I'm not sure why. But I remember when they first added it, it was really, really helpful, especially in the chase, seeing through the smoke. But maybe I just know the track intuitively now enough to where I don't need to look for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked very cool. Like it looked like you were like just flying through the whole thing on your practice. But obviously you ended up getting it, and you took the win with Thorn. And after that, when top 16, Rad Dan.
Yep.
Dude, Rad Dan has been onto something.
He's been doing good.
Is it?
Dan's been turning it up.
I mean, Supras, they're also known for not being like the most competitive cars, but he's doing good. But then you end up, you battle him. You had some little bit of contact with him. You got any damage, any adjustment from that?
No, I don't think so. I don't remember which corner it was particularly, but he just kind of had a dive on me in the chase and give me a little boop. But I want to say he might have made a small mistake as well. So I think going into that chase, I wasn't pushing crazy hard. I think it was another similar battle with Thorn where it was like, hey, do a good chase. Don't let him win, but this is not a 10 out of 10 battle where you need to take risks.
Yeah. At what point did it click where you're like, oh, dude, I got this?
With Rad Dan or just
no,
in general?
just in general at that event? Like, at what point did you just say, "Oh, boys,
you made that video to say it like I'm fucking hitting the podium today"?
When did that kick in?
I don't. I said that, but I don't know if I remember actually feeling that at that event. I know when it was. Okay. It was when Dean got knocked out and when Field got knocked out. Because those were the two guys that I knew in practice were fast as fuck, and I got my car to a good level where I felt like I could drive it, and I hadn't hooked it up anymore. All my battles were relatively the same speed as me, so I didn't have to add any more grip. But if I went against Field or Dean, I knew I was going to need to like really turn up, and I hadn't practiced the car that hooked up. So I was nervous that I'd meet one of them in either the top 4 or the finals.
So at that point, you're just like, okay, boys. Car feels better than ever. Great. Those two nerds are out. We're taking this. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a big, especially when you have that moment or that level of confidence. It changes everything, obviously. Once you have that confidence in the car, kind of start having confidence in the bracket, that makes a big difference.
After that, you went, obviously, you went up against Rad Dan, which, by the way, good to see Rad Dan driving good. Then you went top 8. Beecham, another BMW car. Mm-hmm. Beecham, same thing. Like, look at him. He's on top 8. He looked like, he's like driving good. But same, like you dot your T's, cross your I's, and you beat him and move to top 4. And here you are again against Hiro Minowa, who is the guy, the driver you were battling when last round when you went against the wall and, that whole debacle. By the way, what a driver, dude.
Dude shreds.
14 years old, he's fucking killing it.
Shredder.
But
absolutely.
At that point, like you're like, damn, I'm going against the same guy. What are your thoughts? What's going on?
I've driven with him quite a bit. Even before he came to FD, I got to shred Miatas with him in Daigo's parking lot.
What?
And he's a really good driver.
Nice.
So for sure, that he's going to be on his marks. Some of the challenges that I've had with him is just his momentum can be a little bit different than some of the other drivers and where he picks up speed, where he picks up throttle. So when I go against him, I'm just a little bit more aligned on spotters notes to kind of understand where I should take risks, where I should hang back. And that was definitely a big factor. It's not just drive balls to the wall, it's be strategic.
Yeah, because you definitely look faster than him. One of the things that I noticed is like when you were chasing him, you kept like slingshotting, like back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Surging, exactly. And when you're leading, like he was just on your door. But I think because you're a lot faster, that being the case, why is he not faster on his lead? You know what I mean? Like I just feel like he could be faster on his lead.
So you're okay. So what you're saying is,
Hero seems like
You're
he's like.
Adam is surging behind him.
I'm not saying Hero is sandbagging. I'm just saying he looks slower.
He's
on
able to
his
keep
leads.
up with LZ, even though LZ's a rocket
Exactly.
ship. But in the lead, he wasn't nearly
In
as
the
fast.
lead, he's like
Okay, I see what
Adam
you're
keeps
saying.
like punting because Hero, like even on the side by side comparisons, you can the runs where you're leading are over like 1.5 seconds before the ones that he's leading. So,
Yeah, so in St. Louis, there was definitely a big discrepancy in speed, and I'm not sure why, if it was a setup thing or if it was just the way that he drives, but there was like, I don't know, it was something crazy, like 2.5 or 3 seconds difference in times of that track, which is massive. At Seattle, it wasn't that crazy. He's just a little bit slower on the bank based on spotter times, and part of that might have been a tire conservation tactic. Just for reference, I would basically be out of tire right at the inner clip on my second run. So I was just driving that way because I didn't want to take any less wheel speed in the car and make it more challenging to drive, and was just accepting that I'd be a little bit slower on the last corner. Where, his car might have been set up a little bit freer to where he didn't need to use foot to the floor on the bank, which made him slower there, but he had the same speed as me on the infield.
Mm-hmm.
okay.
So my first run with him, I definitely was very divey, and part of the problem is the way my car is set up. I run a 235 in the front, which is really, really small, and I just could not hold back my car on the left foot brake with the speed discrepancy. So I entered with him, and the next run, I basically gave him a little bit more space. That way I could stay on the throttle and kind of pour gradually on the left foot brake versus risking straightening from slamming on the left foot brake and just pushing.
Because you went one more time, and then on the second, not on the second battle, on the one more time battle, did anything changed?
Yeah, like I said, I changed my my driving style a little bit behind him because I knew that the way that he chased me would be viewed much better by the judges in terms of smoothness.
True.
I was worried that I didn't have the car to do it that way, but I knew I had to try to win, so I just gave myself a little bit more space so I could hold the car back with the left foot brake. But I think I tossed that run just in my transition behind him going into outer 3. I just didn't stay on the throttle enough through there, and he kind of put a gap on me there, and I think that's probably the biggest determining factor between the battles.
Well, obviously, you didn't make that battle, but it still looked fucking great. Yeah. I think everybody in the stadium was like pumped about either or. They looked great. I'm pretty sure they're pretty pumped about hooking up a third place on that one.
For sure. No, I would have been probably more bummed than if I had gotten fourth versus third.
Oh, for
but
sure.
the getting a podium with a new car was just like such a cool thing to do for both myself, the team, the fans. That and I knew that before even going into that battle. I was already locked in at third place, regardless of how the battle went. So I was going into that not really stressed out. Just I do great. I'm getting first or second. Yeah. I don't do great. I already got third.
Yeah, and what's funny is I want to talk to you about this. Also, we can run through the battles one by one, but honestly, I want to talk to you just on some other things. You kept bringing up, and obviously, content is a very important thing. A lot of drivers don't nearly dig into as much content as you, but how much of what you do is content driven and driving driven? How much energy do you spend on, weekends at Formula Drifts, emphasizing content and driving? Like, how is that balance? Because I feel like obviously you, out of everybody in the FD paddock, is the best at it, and I think you have the brain to think about, right? Part of the reason why you went to this is because it would be great because of the story and the content. A lot of people don't think about that. A lot of people think about it's if we're not going to make it, we're not going to put him, not going to go. But you have a very unique way of thinking on how to do things outside of just the driving that accelerates you beyond what a lot of people in the sport are lacking, and especially this being so competitive. Not only on the track and off the track, but what does your weekends look like as far as balancing the content and the driving?
I'll be honest. I think I've been doing a terrible job at being a content creator at both Formula Drift and Drift Masters this year. I've definitely, I would say, given the content, I've put it slightly on the back burner from what it used to be to really just focus on being as competitive as possible. Before, I used to be way more worried about it and stressed out about trying to get this clip and trying to do that. And lately I just try to stay focused and just be in the right mental space. Because more than anything, like, the content does well at FD, sure. Like people enjoy it, but it doesn't do any better than the stuff at home. I'm not there for content. I'm there because I want to prove myself as a driver. And I don't want to waste my time, and I want to make my partners look good. So this year I've really just focused more on the competition side. Obviously I'm still making content
Yeah.
there, but I think I'm filming significantly less than I used to. Obviously, when I have Mike there and he's filming stuff in the pits, we still get a great video at the end of the day, but it's not something that's as much on me.
But see, like that's probably part of why I think your content's also better quality. Like there's more substance. You know what I mean? Like it's not like every day having to force yourself to.
It's very
come up with
organic
good-
and
it's-
real
exactly.
and raw and very
It's-
behind the scenes.
It's
and-
relatable, it's organic, and it's more you know, like I just could not even believe how would come up with like videos every day, because you used to do videos every day. I don't know if you still do. Like
I'm like every other day. Sometimes I'll skip a day or two
Yeah.
right now, and it's tough, especially like competing as much as I am this year. The hardest thing I have is just getting back in the groove after like a competition week or weekend. I just hate projects when I have to
Yeah.
I can't just do it like just 1 or 2 days and then having to put it aside and then maybe do something else. It's really, really challenging for me. So a lot of times, like this week, I've been really unmotivated to film anything in the shop because I don't have enough time to like really start and finish a project.
Yeah.
So it's been challenging for me to kind of pick anything up. I know that I'm leaving for Hungary next week, so I don't want to do anything crazy. And then I just got back from last weekend, so I'm still tired and getting back in
Yeah,
the groove and catching up on emails.
and here you are, you know, we're taking away your time.
Yeah,
like,
we're only grabbing another 10,
Damn,
15,
these
10
guys.
minutes of your time. But it's like, obviously, you're juggling a lot of stuff. And I just want to touch on another thing. Obviously, we talked about the Formula Drift stuff for hours, but I want to talk about other exciting stuff like the LZ World Tour. You've been taking so much more onto your plate. Just simply, like, what was the brainchild behind LZ World Tour? Why did you want to create something like that when you already have a lot of this other stuff on your plate? You could literally drive, Adam, you can drive in any country, any event. So why take the burden on running one of these events? What was the idea behind that? It
It was literally wanting to go to cool places and go drive with my friends in a fun way.
Yeah.
I don't like, I don't want to say aimless drifting, but I've never really had a huge enjoyment out of, some of the festival style events that are just like open drifting on a big road course, because I don't have self-control and I will just either go through a set of tires in one lap, which is very inconvenient. I have to
Yeah.
keep coming
Oh,
back
yeah.
and changing them, or I will drive so hard that I go flying off track. So I like having some structure.
True.
But the competition that we've put in with the World Tour and the fantasy battles and the amount of seat time, it doesn't matter if you get knocked out in the first battle or if you make it through to the end. You're leaving that event with a giant smile on your face that you got a ton of great driving, a ton of great battles with a lot of cool cars and drivers. It was really more than anything just to be able to do that and have a place to go drive with friends.
Yeah, I'm old and washed now, but you ever get a spot open, I'd love to bring my car out and go compete, dude. I haven't
do
competed
it.
I haven't competed in ages. I for whatever reason, dude, after watching FD this season so far, I'm like, dude, I got an itch. I want to go out there and compete, but it's like, I don't know, dude. I would have to load up a big and you know what it is to compete on like the large levels. Like, I got to get the truck and trailer. I got to get 60 sets of tires. I got to get 255-gallon drums of seats. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of over that. I literally took a picture of my drift car today, and it's like, make me an offer, because I want to build a car that is just throw some like 255s or 235s, 265s on the back.
But that's your
and
car
just goes,
already.
No, it's not my car already.
Just-
I want to
just
put
don't-
pump gas in
just
it
don't nitrous
and go
it.
rip
Change the
some
tuning.
laps. And to me, I think, as you said that just perfectly, dude, because to me, that's what I want to do. Not much pressure. And even in some other sports, you get, or in other series, you get a handful of laps. You go out there, and if you don't make qualifying, as Chelsea would say, pack your shit on the trailer, and we'll see you in another month. And I think everything you displaying about LZ is what makes it special. And so if there's ever a spot open, I want to come out and party, dude. I'm serious.
We're coming for you.
No, I'm just coming out there to do
Listen
some
up,
laps.
brother.
Actually, I want to see this. I want to see how bad I am now. That's what I want to do, is like see how far the sport checked out, to see kind of where I sit in my little peanut world of not drifting in the past year and a half. But
One of the things I love about it, and it's quite similar to what FD's brought into the picture with the seating bracket. We do a bottom 16. So instead of having the 30-second qualifying position driver going against the first qualifying position and having a battle that you already know right off rip, the first day we'll have the 16th qualifying driver go against the 32nd and so on and so forth. And what it's done is it's allowed a lot of people, like maybe yourself, that hasn't competed in a while, that's a little rusty, to have the chance to not just go out on the first battle. And sometimes those bottom 16s produce some of the best battles, the biggest and best underdog stories.
Bro, T-Pain.
Like I've never cheered louder drifting than seeing those drivers compete, because a lot of times it'll be someone that you would not expect to do well, and they're taking out some really good drivers, and then they go into the competition the next day again with all of this practice because they just did a full top 16 going into the next day.
True.
So the way that we would do it is the top 3 bottom 16 drivers get locked into the top 16 competition the next day.
Dude, that is
And so I had the opportunity to attend this year's California round with Dustin, and which, by the way, thanks for the invite, dude. That was great. What a vibe! Like, it's just like everybody who's at the event, they're just having a great time. Everybody, like, everybody's competing, but it's still like a very friendly competition. And like you said,
super chill.
Yeah, it's not. You're not battling for money. You're battling for a skateboard.
Yeah.
And
no, I mean, those moments too, like in the pits, that's a perfect example. Like we're just standing on the trailer, most of us that had qualified for the top 16, drinking breezies and just cheering on for all the bottom 16 drivers. And like I said, I get knocked out in FD. A lot of times I don't go and watch the competition because there's so many fans and it's hard to find a spot to go watch from, to be comfortable, whatever. I watch all those battles at the World Tour, and like I'm yelling at the top of my lungs, I'm cheering, and it's always obviously they're my friends too, so you're cheering a little bit extra loud, and it's just like you said, it's a vibe.
Yeah. All right, I got, before we let you go, I have like 2 more.
I'm having Instagram questions.
I'm chilling on time.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So,
no rush.
Okay, so then I do have some questions before we get to the Instagram questions. Is what does the LZ World Tour look like in the next 2-3 years?
That's a great question. I'd say there's a lot of pivots and changes that you might see. More than anything, the core vibe and root of everything that makes it fun will still be there. But in terms of locations and format, I think one thing that's, I don't want to say bumming people out. We'll do an event somewhere and people love it, and then they get really bummed when we don't come back. But I've been really, really about the idea of kind of keeping a rotating schedule. It allows us to go and experience new places, new fans, and it kind of keeps it exciting, right? Like, will we go back to E-Town one day with the World Tour? For sure. But if we go there every year, I feel like it's going to become kind of monotonous versus switching it up, going to a new track, new audience. We get to experience new things. It keeps it exciting for all the people that are going there and wanting to film their vlogs, eating poutine or whatever you're doing in whatever country you're in.
Well,
that's actually smart.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because just gonna throw it out there, dude. Here in Phoenix, we have people coming and throwing their events, and it's a packed house, insane amount of attendance. We had. So
I wanted to go to Musselman's in Phoenix, right? So like right outside.
Musselman is in Tucson.
Yep.
It's like an hour and a half from Phoenix. Great place. It's like a go-kart track. It's actually a mirrored Suzuka track.
So I love Musselman. It's like one of my favorite tracks I've ever driven. And I think we might have even done a site visit there. The problem is, for the amount of spectators we have, it rules out a lot of tracks because they can't accommodate what we need. Our infrastructure kind of got built out to the point where our costs were so high, if we didn't hit a certain threshold with spectators, the event became unfeasible. So a lot of venues that we would have loved to gone to, like US Air, right? Like one of my favorite tracks ever. We could not do an LZ World Tour there because we couldn't have enough spectators there to make it make sense.
I mean, we had events here like Fuel Fest, which insane attendance.
Yeah, but that's at Firebird, Wild Horse.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, because at Fire, it's Bondurant, not Bondurant. It's Radford now.
Yep.
Radford, Wild Horse, back to being Firebird now. I'm so confused with all the name changing. And we had another event. What's it called?
So Fuel Fest. I know they have a big spectator turnout there.
Yeah.
But could all the spectators watch the show? Well,
Yeah.
there really isn't a show. It's just open drifting. But like, can everyone see? Are there stands to where everyone's watching, or is it they're in the car show? They're walking around and wandering. Because that's part of our thing, right? It's a show. It's like a thing where everyone needs to be able to see what's going on versus it just being like a free for all.
I'm going to say this. I'm just going to be open and honest. Were you out here when they ran Prospec at Firebird or Wild Horse? I think that must have been 2015, 16. FD tried running a Prospec stop at that track, and I'll be honest with you, wasn't the best visually to watch as a spectator, just because the stands and the track, certain parts of the track were so far away that it wasn't visible. So there was a lot of that, but there are other tracks out here that do have the ability to put grandstands up and things like that. But
you know how much grandstands cost? It's
brother,
crazy.
it's stupid, isn't it? It's so stupid. But,
one event, I think we almost spent like 80 grand on grandstands.
Yeah, that's what
just
people
like-
don't realize.
You literally spend the entire extra revenue that you get from those tickets that you add on the grandstand, to where like you make like maybe an extra $1 per person. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's the silliest thing.
And the people don't realize, like, man, they're charging, 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks a ticket. It's like, that ticket is literally what's paying for that thing for you to sit in. We're not making $1 on that. So just be happy that you have a seat. And there's some tracks, like, I'll be honest, like, I like the bank tracks, especially the ones you went to in California, where it's like a stadium style seating. Everything's already provided. You can see the track from, and that's why I liked Wall Speedway, New Jersey, is because no matter where you're at, the action was right in front of your face the entire time. And that's what made it exciting, especially when you're watching a top 16, top 32 competition. You want to be able to see the start to finish. And
definitely for competition,
absolutely.
like that's a stadium, 100%.
yeah, stadiums are big.
But no, like there's an event that it's been happening once or twice a year here. Modded Culture, you might have heard of them. Insane attendance. It's just like a packed house, and I'm pretty sure if all these people who goes to Modded Culture ever heard, oh, LC World Tour is coming to Phoenix, it'll be packed as well, and it's quite a facility. It's huge, and there's, like when we did Desert Mayhem a few years ago, we rented 3 sets of grandstands, and lots of people. Just throwing it out there. I mean,
So here,
Phoenix are good
Adam,
stuff.
if you ever want to do something in Arizona, I'll bring you out to Radford. Come do a side tour. We'll get you connected.
Corey used to work there, by the way.
Well, the thing is,
so he knows
you know what's
everybody.
funny is I just had a meeting with the track staff last week. I just drove out there, and they want to talk about bringing more events out there.
Perfect.
Randomly, and now having this conversation, I think there might be an opportunity.
You heard it first.
No. At the end of the day, I think there
It's
might be an
happening.
opportunity, because I know there's not a lot of money to be made, especially when you're running an event like yours, where it's like a lot of the proceeds go back into getting the food, the vendors, the spots, the parking, the insurance. There's not a lot of people think there's like bazillion bucks to be made off events. Trust me, once you start taking in all that stuff, it's not. So a lot of things is if you start looking for a venue that is willing to like collaborate, or it's like, let's share costs or let's eat costs together, it makes things a lot more doable. And I feel like there's a few venues out here that might be interested in that. I'm just putting it out there.
That's good to know. I mean, Bakersfield that you went to, that event didn't make money. I think that event either broke even or lost a little bit of money. And part of that is we really rolled the dice on a new venue, expecting people to drive up from LA, but it turned out no one from LA wanted to go to Bakersfield. And we had a lot of fans that came down from Northern California that were driving down from Sacramento and San Francisco and the Bay Area. And we still had a really solid turnout, but we took a risk on a venue that really hadn't done anything like that, and kind of learned. But more than anything, I just really wanted to bring the tour to the West Coast. And I was concerned doing it at Irwindale that it would feel too much like FD.
Yeah.
So I wanted it to be somewhere new. And it was still a great event. But just like you said, sometimes events don't really make money.
We know, but Corey.
I'm just saying, like, I think there might be an opportunity. I'd love if there's an opportunity. For
Yeah.
one, I would like for you to come out there. We have so many people actually talking about
We'll
that.
have our people talk to your people. Like we'll do something.
Sometimes shit works out, in certain ways. Like, why did I get a call from the racetrack 2 weeks ago saying, hey, we want to do some fun shit out here. What can we do? And it's just, and then we have this conversation. I don't know. Things happen for a reason. I was going to ask another thing about the World Tour, and then I was going to ask...
Oh, dude, the hack.
This was my... Okay, we want to get to the hack. The other thing I want to ask is, we talked about LZ World Tour in 3 years. What's Adam LZ in Formula Drift 3 years? What does that look like?
Oh, I can tell you next year I'm definitely doing Formula Drift again.
You are doing it
most
next year,
likely.
okay.
Full
Yeah,
season.
Yeah, full season for sure.
E46, E36.
Yeah, so my plan right now is to run the E36. I'm gonna build another car in the off season. I don't think I'll compete with it next year, but I might bring it out to a round or two, and if it does well, I'll compete in it. But I'm toying with the idea of building a car that might work really well at certain tracks, and possibly driving one car at certain tracks and one car at another track.
Isn't that the beauty of being a privateer team? No offense to obviously being like a Ford factory driver, but doing your own things like, do you know what? Let's go build something silly and like there has to be something fun behind that you just sometimes lose. But there's pros and cons of both ways, right? To be a factory RTR driver is one of the most incredible things you can do. But also being the dude that has 3 cars lined up for 3 specific racetracks, that you're that guy now bringing out a Chelsea Nova's Porsche to compete at New Jersey, and then the next week you're at there's something cool to do that too. And nobody's done that before. You're really, like I said, this content YouTube brain that you have that is okay thinking out of the box and everything, I think is what makes your program so much more unique, is because you have this weird YouTube brain that a lot of people don't consider, or they lock themselves in. These people lock themselves in to one specific thing or one specific that limits them on doing things. And I'm like, dude, you're the perfect dude to be in such a good position to say, I'm just going to do whatever I enjoy doing. It has to be a pretty solid feeling knowing that you just don't really have that.
I mean, I think I've got self-diagnosed ADD, and I think that's a large component of it. To where I'll just lose interest in stuff really fast, and I'll want to try this, try that, try this, try that. And sometimes it's a really big weakness, and sometimes it's a really big strength. And on the world of YouTube, where your whole goal is to kind of keep people interested and exciting, when your brain works that way, things are constantly changing and being shaken up. So it's very natural. I get to do what I want to do, and it's interesting because I'm not doing the same thing forever.
Yeah. Did you ever feel like, once again, I don't know how Ford deals work or anything like that. Did you ever feel like your hands were tied because you were locked in? Like,
no, I obviously I was still able to do all the stuff that I did with my E36 and other cars. I was not technically I don't know the correct verbiage, but there were certain deals like Chelsea's where he could only compete in a Ford. I did not sign a deal like that because I knew that it wouldn't work with what I did with YouTube and all the stuff.
That makes sense.
It would have been a great opportunity by all means. It just wouldn't have made sense for me.
I was just thinking about it because Chelsea was driving his Fox body.
Bro, it's just so crazy to see Chelsea not an E36 when he's not in a Ford, right? Yeah. And it's like now you see Chelsea in a
Porsche,
and now you see him in a Porsche, and it's just like you kind of see that, right?
Yeah, because you get like, did you have a real quick question? And I'm not trying to dig too much, but was there like a red tape thing where like if when you were an RTR, you wanted to go on a show, you had like to talk to somebody before going on a show or something like that? Like,
not really. Vaughn's like super, super cool, and I feel like
he's the coolest.
You know, if I wasn't me, there might have been, but I feel like me and Vaughn had a really good like kind of mutual understanding and respect, and I was always looking out for him and his business, and he was looking out for me and mine. That, you know, if I felt like I was doing something that could be an issue, I'd just give him a call. And usually if I felt like it could be an issue, it probably was an issue, you know? But if I knew that it wasn't an issue, I didn't even need to talk to him. But no, things were pretty fluid. The AutoZone contract, there was a lot of red tape around that. But that wasn't necessarily Ford. That was just kind of being blocked out of certain deals because they were seen as competitors.
Yeah.
As any deal, right? If you get a field deal, you get stuck. So that's pretty standard.
It's still pretty cool though, because I buy all my stuff from AutoZone all the time, and I just remember going to AutoZone.
You got the chrome door handles, you got the chrome rain gunners, you got the chrome gas door.
Yeah, but it's just cool, you know, like getting there and like see Adam in a poster, you know, like get this, and you know, like
pencil, hey, get this.
Yeah, like just photos of Adam, like full size cardboard, you know, like take my selfie with him and stuff. No, dude, very cool. Like, I mean, like, you know, we couldn't be happier for you, man. Like, really, you're killing it. You're I wanted to ask you something actually before we go into the Instagram questions. Would you consider a 2-car team with a second car on Prospec, and the driver, I'm just gonna throw it out there, Sean Booth, throw that guy into Prospec, man. He's a fucking killer driver.
If I do a second car in Prospec, it's going to be Colette. I'm sorry, Booth. I love you.
But he loves Colette more.
Do you see yourself doing that in the future, being 2-car team? Like, look at Rome jumped into it right away and just was like, all right, here you go.
No, but
Connor,
that's true. While you were competing in Seattle, Colette was driving where?
She was competing in Malaysia.
Malaysia, and she did podium, right?
Yep. Yeah, she got third. I got third. She got first in an all-girls comp, and then third in their like national drift series. So
you guys are
no,
correct.
I don't know. I don't know when that could be, but it'd be pretty cool if that was something that we could make happen. And
that'd be insane.
I think my concern more than anything would just be the extra load that it would put on the guys. You know, one car, it can be pretty easy to manage, but you know, I've seen firsthand with RTR and with other teams, when you throw a second car in there, when everything's going good, it's good, but when everything's going bad, it's extra bad. Because now, especially if you're planning and sharing resources, it's double the problem.
Is she into BMWs? Like, can she drive 36s?
I mean, if I'm running a car for her, it's going to be an E36.
It just makes sense, right? Like, because if you guys go together, you have parts that you can share and all that stuff. Because, I mean, I saw her competing at your LC Worlds. I just keep calling it LC Fest. It's just like easier.
That's you just stroking out.
Yeah, at Bakersfield. And she did great, man. Like, she seems very comfortable in the Corvette.
Yeah, no, for sure. She can definitely drive, and she's not the biggest E36 fan, but she knows how much I love it. So I think I need to just get her in one so she can see the light. It's right? Like whenever she drives a good car, she's like sold. Like she came back from Malaysia, she's like, I need a 2JZ S15.
So I got one in the garage.
The lift.
Yeah.
She's I think her Corvette, and you know, I think Corvettes in general can be really challenging to drive if they're not set up really, really well. So I think it's also kind of pushed her as a driver to go outside of her comfort zone. So then when she hops in something a little bit easier, it's just, she's really able to showcase her skills, which must feel great.
Yeah. But I think that's kind of what makes a driver better, right? When you get pushed out of your comfort zone, and
Absolutely.
then you have to like flourish, right?
Yep, everything. That's
so,
all of it.
Obviously, I mean, Colette, if you're listening, get on the E36 game right now, because I think she would kill it. Like, you know, like we just saw Amanda Sorensen podiuming. Was that like Jersey, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and that could have been Colette. You
Yeah,
know, like,
absolutely. Absolutely.
So definitely,
I still think there's a lot of talent that hasn't even entered an FD yet that could do absolutely amazing. And a lot of the drivers are at LZ, you know, World Tour. There's a lot of talented drivers out there that have not gone into FD, and I'm excited to see that day. And obviously,
it is expensive. You know, it is an investment. It's not.
I'll say this again. I think it's 30% driver, 70% car and team. And I think that's the biggest issue you see with a lot of these Prospec teams is they just can't keep the car together because there's a whole lot of new. Between the setups, the tracks, making adjustments, they're trying to make more power, the car isn't feeling right, they built a new car. Like, if you just have a car that works and it's reliable, I mean, look at how amazing Hobson did in Odie's car.
Yeah.
Great example of a great driver paired with a car that was really reliable, had been tried and true, and I don't know how many seasons that car had done.
Yeah.
But I think that's the move for Prospec. Drive something that just works, where you can just focus on driving. And I think that's where it sucks. I've got a lot of friends and a lot of people that I watch do Prospec that are phenomenal drivers, but there's so much new and they're not able to really demonstrate their skills just because they're fighting mechanicals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paco, let's jump on Instagram.
Want to jump on Instagram?
Let's just jump on Instagram
we have
real
both Instagram and Facebook on our discussion board. If you're listening and you're not part of our discussion board, please go on Facebook, search for Maximum Driftcast, the discussion board, and join, because that's where a lot of drivers, event organizers, like who's people who's in it, you know, they're in it. They talk about everything and they comment, and like it's a good place to go and, you know, like get answers from the pros. And so please join the discussion board. But let's look at some Instagram questions.
How much time do you spend on Facebook Marketplace a week?
Me?
Yeah.
So I don't scroll on social media. I scroll on Marketplace.
What's up?
That's-
So what's your
that's
go-to?
scrolling on
What does your
Marketplace.
search history look like on Marketplace right now?
It's a great question. I want to do a video, and this is gonna make me do it by
Just
saying
do
this on
it.
here.
Do it.
I wanna go around FD and go up to drivers and have them pull out their phone and just show their Facebook Marketplace, because you can learn so much about a person just by seeing what Marketplace is pushing to their phone.
Yeah.
And we do this sometimes amongst our friend group, and like one of our buddies, it'll be like half airboats and like appliances. The other one will be like cars and bikes, and then like it's hilarious. But yeah, mine, it used to be, it's all over the place, right? Right now it's a lot of guitars, and I love that it's guitars because it's way cheaper to be thinking about buying guitars right now than buying cars.
Oh, facts.
It's a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's a good segue because I have a question right here from Yogurt Slinger 420XX
Okay.
69, and he's asking, do you think Hero won because he's been playing a lot of sim drifting, but you've been playing a lot of Guitar Hero?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think the sim driving certainly helps a lot. I don't think in my scenarios that I lost to something that sim driving would have helped. I think if it was a track issue where memory or muscle memory in a certain area would have helped. But obviously St. Louis, it was too risky and I dove in a place that I shouldn't have. And then Seattle, I just made a mistake on one transition. And my practice, I think more than anything, I should have done more chasing, but I couldn't complete a lead lap. So I pretty much led my entire practice, which is very uncharacteristic of me, and didn't put myself in scenarios to make big mistakes like that.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate your honesty. It was kind of like a trick question, but it's mostly because we've seen you doing a lot of like guitar playing on your Instagram. I'm a bassist myself, so if you ever want to start a band, just
I love it.
let me know. Hit me up. But
I'm actually going through my Facebook Marketplace right now, and I'm just
instead of looking at the questions,
yeah, because I'm looking. I got like shop shelving. I got
for those who don't know,
I got a Corvette I get transmissions. I have an AC recharging machine.
for those
Nintendo 64s.
let me let people know. For those who don't know, Corey's now the owner of a auto mechanics shop. Corey, what's the name of your shop?
No, it's
Just say it.
It's Freedom Auto Works.
Freedom Auto Works.
Just a general shop. But I've been looking so much shelving, dude. Benches, shelvings,
Shop equipment.
and so it went from like looking at car parts all the time now shop shit. So I'm like, dude, this is depressing. Just all.
It's not depressing,
so
Corey.
Mine right now, I'll read you through what I got pulled up. We've got a S14, a Stratocaster guitar,
Sick.
an M4 BMW, drift car E36, another guitar, turbocharged helicopter, Hako Skyline, a skate ramp. I feel like Marketplace is a pretty good like picture of like who someone is as a person.
Absolutely.
Maybe if you're a male. I don't know if it is if you're a female.
Absolutely.
But I feel like we look on I don't know. There's no drama on Marketplace. You scroll through an Instagram feed or a Facebook feed, there's drama, there's opinions. There's no opinions on Marketplace. It's just things
just
to buy.
deals or no deals, dude. That's
So, like,
it.
Yeah.
Mine right
That's
now is calling for a 98 Cadillac Hearse.
Hers.
Yeah. I have bass guitars, all kinds. Water heater, because my water heater bursted this past week.
Oh, I
and
got
gotta
mini
go buy-
splits. I got
buy a new
AC
one.
mini splits. I'm looking to buy 2 AC mini splits. That's the other things that I have on there.
All right, let's. In the meanwhile,
I got a 3D printed Wolverine mask. I don't know where that came from, but it's up there.
I have a question right here from username Heatwave Visual. What's up, Heatwave? So, did he get that 12th practice lap?
Oh yeah. Oh man, they're trying to stir up the pot on this one.
Yeah, come on, give us a sauce.
What is? I'm out of context on that. What's the
Nah,
story?
Because
I'm gonna keep it really brief.
Keep it brief.
Because I know that.
Oh my God.
Are
we throwing you on the bus?
Yeah, absolutely.
Heatwave Visual, your band officially. We're not taking more questions from you guys. Which, by the way,
basically, there's a 12 lap rule in FD where you're not allowed to do more than 12 laps.
Yep.
I was shut down on my 11th lap, and there was quite a few arguments that ensued because I was pretty upset because I was having a bad practice.
Yeah.
That I was basically robbed of a lap. No, I don't need to add anything. Let's just say it's whatever. I'm over it at this point. So like literally I'm on the podium and they're joking around with me like, it's like you didn't get that 12th lap, huh?
That would have put you in second or first. Oh, dude.
At the moment it's a pretty big deal to me. And now obviously I didn't want to create drama or problems for FD, so I didn't even mention it in my videos, but I was definitely a little upset. You know, mistakes happen. We'll just leave it at that.
All good. Thanks for the question, Heatwave. We love it when somebody steers a pod like that.
Well, you had obviously like Atlanta. You obviously got hit. You raised up a little bit. Like you're being vocal about a few things now, like, which is good.
Yeah,
right?
it sucks, right? Like I don't want to be the guy that whines about stuff on social media, but at the same time, like I can't just shut up and not say nothing. Because especially when everyone else sees the same exact thing that I'm seeing, it's almost going to make me look like a bitch if I don't say anything.
Bro.
Especially if I feel passionately about something. And that was a scenario where like they're saying, oh, well, you know, I lifted to get the win. And it was like, nah. If I stayed in the throttle, I would have spun out and crashed both cars. And then you got the judges going on Facebook posting statuses, talking shit, saying, when in doubt, throttle out. And it's like, yo, I'm going to do that next time. I'm going to put my middle finger out the window. I'm going to crash the cars, and I'm going to go. And when Lorette interviews me, like, when in doubt, throttle out.
Yeah, buddy. Do you know who else has been vocal too? I appreciate people being vocal.
Yeah.
And there was even one point where Dylan Hughes got really vocal with something. If the judges thought it was so easy, why don't they come do it or something like that? Like Dylan had like a really good clapback one day, but and that wasn't exactly the quote, but it felt like that is what he was saying. Somebody else who's been really vocal is Forsberg lately. Forsberg has been vocal lately. I'm all for it.
As drivers, we just want consistency.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of calls and a lot of things that aren't necessarily like we disagree with the rules or we disagree with this or we disagree with that. There's just a lot of decisions that are being made that don't feel consistent with other decisions that have been made. And I think that's when drivers get frustrated. You know, you gotta think we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to compete. And if you and especially the fact that they took out protests, that's almost like it's robbing you even of an opportunity to talk about it. And I think that is also another one of the reasons why like I wanted to say something, because I don't get my opportunity to say that anymore. You can do an appeal after the race, right?
Yeah.
But like at that point, what does it even matter?
Yeah, and obviously if you do a protest at the event, you still have the ability to continue on if the protest goes your way. But if the event is over, they just give you that battle, right? They don't give you a chance to.
It's just like a points adjustment, right?
Instead of getting 6th, you got 5th. Okay, we appealed that. Blah blah blah.
No, and dude, like,
no offense, I'm just saying that's what it is, right?
I usually agree with the judges 98% of the time, but for example, like that call with Forsberg against Castro, which they're buddies, you know, like it's not like there's animosity between them. 100%, like I felt like that was totally wrong, a wrong call, where Forsberg barely tapped on Castro, but Castro went 100 yards of the track, you know, like it's hard to me because, you know, like I love Robbie, I love Brian, Reese seems to be doing a very good job recently, so I know it's not a personal thing, you know, sometimes it's just like maybe they saw something that we didn't see. But I looked I looked at the, you know, when that battle happened, I looked at Forsberg's video, and I agree. You know, it's kind of like that's definitely wasn't the right call.
In my opinion, and I don't know necessarily how this may have changed that call because I didn't see exactly what happened. So I'm speaking just from my own experience with other battles.
Yep.
I believe that if there is contact from the chase driver and the lead driver has done nothing, let's just say abnormal, I think it should always go to the lead driver, or let's just say be the fault of the chase driver if it's beyond reasonable doubt. So as an example, I think this would have changed the call with Field at Atlanta because, you know, they're making an assumption that, oh, well, you know, him hitting you wasn't enough to cause a disruption in the car. I think if the chase driver is hitting the lead car, regardless of what happens, that's a mistake that the chase driver made. Therefore, if something happens to the lead car, you as a judge don't know if you're already on that razor edge as the lead driver, and that little tap puts you over the edge.
Yeah.
So I think I really like that, and that was something that I brought up, the beyond reasonable doubt thing, because if there's any doubt that the chase driver could have impeded on the lead driver, I don't think that they should get rewarded for that.
Yeah.
That's bad driving.
Yes. And that's the other thing too, is contact is not required to have a good run, lead or chase, right? That's
But there's also contact and there's contact. You know, like even I remember on previous rounds they were talking about specifically that. Like sometimes there's contact, nothing happens, everybody seems fine, that's allowed. And then there's contact when you get punted and like you get hit on the front
But you have to
tire.
figure out what is that definition, right? That's the problem, right? Because the perception of what a contact is
Exactly.
up to people interpreting what that contact
and that's
is.
why
That's why.
yeah.
That's what I was saying, just beyond reasonable doubt. I don't remember who it was, but someone else got their car like totaled on the first corner, and it went the other way. And that one, like, I don't remember if it was Dylan or someone was using someone's car as like literally like a bumper car in the 1st corner on that round.
Was that
I
a
remember them
Canadian
posting
kid on the
stories.
Corvette?
No, it was a Pro 1 battle. It was a Pro 1
1.
driver.
Pro
And
1 still
I
calling it
just
Pro 1.
like it was a similar scenario to mine where it went in the chase driver's favor,
Yep.
but it was 10 times worse than my impact for Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like
That's an interesting analogy, is like just don't hit the lead guy.
but that
Yeah,
but,
and look, if it's something that it could be the lead car's fault, then just call it shared fault, right? If there's some sort of reasonable doubt that maybe the lead car looked like it was coming up short or stopped in an area where they shouldn't have stopped, that's when I feel like it gets muddy. But if the lead car is literally doing everything right and the chase car hits them, that's not good driving.
yeah, because at the end of the day, the idea of the chase driver is to mimic whatever the lead driver
That's
is doing.
the guidelines,
Right?
but the guidelines for the lead driver is to fill zones and also pay attention to XL and decel zones, which that is the rules, right? So
Yeah.
if you're accelerating in the excel zone, but you're decelling in an accelerating zone, that's the red flag to say, okay, if there's contact, look what he's doing. So there's skill on both sides that you could follow. I know this is just a wide open, vague conversation, but it's still a good conversation to have, because I think, like you said, you make contact. Now you just leave up the perception. Was it
Yeah.
hard or not? Who knows? You say
Adam?
I don't envy the judges by any means.
no.
on that.
They have the hardest
I don't
fucking
think-
job in the world. They have the hardest.
I don't
fucking
think
job.
I could do any better, but
No.
I also think that as a sport, we're big enough and we have the technology to where there are certain decisions where we could be using data to help guide those decisions. And I think that would also make the drivers feel a bit more fair, especially in the event of collisions or stuff where maybe there's a doubt of if a car decelled or whatever. There's no reason why at this point we shouldn't be able to have that technology be working well enough to be able to use it as an additional tool for the judges to reference.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of DOS, like how they do in D1?
I don't know.
That's probably a little
I've
too
never
much,
watched.
right?
I just don't know anything about it, so I can't really comment. But I have heard that it's too much, and it's
I've heard that
like
too.
I've heard from other people that that's the other end of the extreme. But I do think there's no reason why a very simple G meter couldn't be used to be able to understand if something weird happened on track.
I mean, and that's what they've been trying to implement this year, right? With the accelerate, decelerate lights on the windshield.
What about just GPS data, right? Like they have the zones referenced already, and you just overlay it over Excel and decel.
Well,
zones.
I think that's basically what they're doing, right? They're looking at the GPS data, see if like the car's been under acceleration or deceleration on the zones, and using that in order to make.
But you can literally
right?
get a printout of your throttle and brake position
Yeah.
everywhere on the track. So you could they
Are
could be collecting that data.
Are they getting like data collection?
So Kevin has a device in the cars. I don't know necessarily how consistent or accurate the data is. I would venture to say it's probably not accurate or fast enough for them to use in the judging decisions at the moment. I may also be talking completely out of my ass. So
That's what we do
don't
here.
take what I'm-
No, this is dude, Adam. This is
Yeah.
the whole show's talking
You're-
out of
you
asses,
are
so,
one of
No, I
us
know, but
right
I
now.
don't.
Yeah.
I don't want it to sound like
Yeah.
because I know if I say something, then Kevin's gonna watch this and then he's gonna. I'm gonna get a text and he's gonna be like, no.
idiot.
So this is just based on I would think if it was really consistent that they probably would be using it. And I know that even the decel and acceleration lights don't work all the time. It's not surefire. There are teams that I know have unplugged them because they cause issues with the car or other things that are going on. I think they look at those things, but it's also not something that's a surefire. This is working all the time.
The other thing too is like if they brought protests back, like you pay $200, $150, $500, what is they call that protest? I know it's cheaper now, but it's like then that would be their cue to pull the data, right? You don't have to pull data every single lap. You can only pull data winning question. So it could be.
It's like they say, don't leave it up to the judges. But if you have to, for whatever reason, and there's the ability to protest, then you can look at the data and then.
I like that.
Yeah, that's
right.
it. Just protest. Data pulls when you protest.
My suggestion was to make the protests more expensive. So at least if you're gonna protest because you really have like the evidence in your hand.
I really like though the idea of the protest being data driven, right? Because the foundation of a normal protest, you're asking judges who are I don't want to say opinionated, but like their decision is their opinion. You're asking someone to change their opinion, which is a pretty difficult challenge. Where if the basis of a protest is on data, that's something that can't be disagreed with.
Yes.
If your protest is based on this person slowed down here, they are not supposed to do that. That is what caused the accident that you guys put on me. They look at this, they confirm, okay, yes, this was an abnormal slowdown compared to whatever other runs. Now they're changing their opinion based on a fact. And also, that's way easier to communicate to the fans. Because what's worse to fans than having judges that say one thing and then a protest happens and then they change their opinions and flip to the other side? It makes them look weak as judges. They don't want to do that.
I just came up with an idea. All right, this may be dumb, but it's used in other forms of motorsports. So hear me out. This 2 seconds. Right? I know we're going down a rabbit hole, but the reason why I have these conversations is because we always want to try to make things more crystal clear and better overall in the future. So in other forms of motorsports, I can't remember what the term is, but you could literally pay tech inspection to go inspect people's car if you believe they're doing something wrong. So imagine if you pay, instead of a protest, you pay, hey, here's $250, we get data off that car, and you can kind of use that at any time to collect that information. But they do that in racing, right? Hey, I think that guy's using a cheater motor. Go inspect. Here's $250, and they have to abide by the rules to get that inspection done on their car because they just been protested. So you can pay. So think about paying the series to pull the data, and then they can say, oh, yep, you're right, he was off throttle there. I can't remember what that term is, but they use it in other forms of motorsports. They use it in a lot of dirt track racing and sprint car stuff.
It's used in rally.
You can contest, you can contest other
Brian.
people's cars and information, and you pay to collect that. But your vehicle has to be accessible when you compete in the series to have that. I don't know. I'm digging in a deep end, but there's options.
I mean, I like the in-car cameras the Drift Masters have. I think that also would maybe not tell the full story, but I think there are times when having an in-car camera would kind of help both the fans and the judges understand something that's going on with the car, or, maybe who's at fault for an accident or why something weird happened with the car. If you can physically see someone misshifting, or you can physically see someone handbraking in a scenario where they really shouldn't be, it makes it that much more clear what's going on.
Absolutely. Yep. Paco, what else you got for
I have a question from a very silly user. Very silly question as well. Username Chelsea the Nova. That guy. What's the name of your new band?
Did you know that Chelsea the Nova is in the band?
What? Okay, hold on. Lay it on us. What's going on here? Chelsea's in the band.
Chelsea, doesn't he play the tromboner? What?
It's top secret. I know that he wouldn't want me to reveal the instrument that he plays just yet.
The bass flute.
It's teed up for a 2026 release. We'll be playing at Sneaky Pete's at E-Town in 2026. So
grand opening.
Okay.
Yep.
Should we be there?
I'll be there 100%.
Okay,
we are looking for a bass player, but they've got to be local.
Dude, story of my life, man.
Sorry, dude.
Story of my life.
Cut it. Didn't make the cut.
God
this is when you
damn it.
pack up your life and you live out of an RV and you move up to Sneaky Pete's.
I mean, that's what they used to call me, Sneaky Pete, back in the day. So, but what's the name of your band?
So there's one name that a buddy of mine gave that would be kind of funny, but I also don't like it because I feel like it's got a real negative connotation to it.
Okay.
Lost in Transition.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
It's a cool name,
Yeah.
but it's also like it's not a really good moment to happen. Like if you're getting lost in transition, you're kind of a scrub, bud.
Yeah. Facts.
That's,
You know?
I mean, I'm all about it. I heard Lost in Transition is looking for a bass player, but it has to be
Yeah.
local too. So,
Yeah.
Paco, sorry, you're out, dude. We already talked about it. Time to move, Paco. Pack your bags. And
more questions, dude. We had a lot of questions
just hit him
here.
with a few. Just hit him with a few. It's already late over there. What
I have
time
a
is it?
question
Like
from
10, 11?
I have a question from Drifted Kilgore. Hey Adam, I saw you started picking up the guitar. Have you learned "Hero" by Enrique Iglesias?
That's a banger.
No, I don't know the song. I'll look it up though.
No, but you get it? "Hero,"
What is that? I don't get it.
"Hero," Minoa.
Oh.
Wah, wah.
Good joke. Good
You know what's
joke.
funny is I used to play guitar way back in the day. I was terrible at it.
I
But
was say, dude,
do you-
Corey
have you
used
played,
to have a band.
Have you played? Do you play PRCs at all? PRC guitars.
What's that?
It's a guitar.
I don't even know.
You don't even know PRCs. What? You're a Fender guy?
So just to put it out there, like my guitar phase was like probably age, let's just say like 10 to 13. I played all the time. I stopped playing literally from like age 13 probably through age 21. I picked it up for a year, put it back down for the next 7 years, and I just started picking it back up again. So like I'm so out of the loop with everything. I've just got a friend that I actually met who was a fan at one point. That he's like my guitar guru. So I ask him all the dumb questions, and he just tells me what to buy and what
I
to
haven't
do.
played guitars in ages, but I have a bunch of family that works at guitar
Corey
places.
used to have his own band. It was
Dude,
Corey and the Hosfords.
No.
I've seen, dude. There was a YouTube
No,
video. I
no.
swear there was a
This-
YouTube
this
video.
dude, don't-
If you
listen
go
to
on
this
YouTube and look,
This dude.
Corey Hosford,
There's nothing there.
there's something
There's
there.
nothing
You're
there.
playing the drums.
Not true.
I saw it.
Not
I
true.
swear,
Paco's
it's
lying.
hilarious.
Paco's fucking lying.
I have a. No, I swear that's not. I'm not lying. There's a question from Sir Joshi Kins. What's your favorite Limp Bizkit album, and why is it Chocolate Starfish and the hot dog flavored water?
I commented on that one on Facebook. I thought that was funny. I definitely did listen to that album when I was younger. I remember, like, I was at the age then where you were giggling because of how many times they said the F word in one of those songs.
Yep.
Sure.
Like, that's how old I was at the time. Like, it was like one of my friends' dads listened to it. I was like, whoa, this is edgy. But yeah, no, that album ripped.
Do you
I
know
never really
what's-
listened to anything other than that album, if I'm being honest.
Do you know what's crazy, dude? Talking about music real quick, and I know we're not talking about drifting, which is cool because sometimes I get bored talking about drifting, is old music that we used to listen to growing up is now considered sometimes old music, and it's coming back. Like, it came out, it phased out, and it's coming back. Like, we're at that age now that music we listened to growing up with phased out and is now phasing back in to be cool again.
Limp Bizkit's playing
Same thing
here
as-
tomorrow.
Same thing with
What?
Style.
Yeah.
Style?
all
Oh,
those things that
Style?
became uncool.
Bro, where was I at? I was somewhere the other day, and I walked by some, like, probably younger kid, and he was wearing, like, these little tiny round Arnett sunglasses that I used to rock, dude. They're tiny. And I'm like, what are those things doing back, bro? It's weird. The music and the style it's bro, little tiny.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to keep wearing black skinny jeans until they become cool again. So I don't need to keep buying new pants. They'll become cool again
They
in
will.
10, 15 years.
Just the forever setting the trend is what it is. I'm just forever. I've been,
Yep.
dude. I knew it was coming back. I've been wearing them for 15 years. Do you know what's funny is I kind of wear like skin. Do you obviously still wear skinny jeans? Yeah,
Yeah, just black skinny
bro.
jeans. It's the
Have you
staple.
put on like non-skinny jeans and look down at your legs and be like, God, this just looks silly.
I bought one set of pants that were like, not designer, but like they're like cool pants, whatever, right? And like they're not bell bottoms, but I call them bell bottoms because they're not skinny on the ankles like
Yeah.
my usual pants.
Yes,
Bro, it's the weirdest
It's
thing.
weird,
I walk
bro.
around and I feel like I'm a kid wearing like my dad's sweatpants. I'm
oversized.
just like,
Bro, I just did the same thing. I just bought a normal pair of jeans. It's like everybody's wearing normal size jeans. I put them on, and my proportions look like two fucking hot dogs running down my pants. It just was It just looks so fucking weird. I'm like, why are people wearing these things? I couldn't do it, dude. I agree with you. I just can't wear normal fat jeans. They're not even fat, but just anything that's not fitting on the leg.
I'll pay to watch you wear skinny jeans on one of these days.
Bro, just give me some fitting jeans that fit normal. What do you got, Paco? Hit us.
Dude, there's so many questions.
Just hit him with one.
There's so many. Okay, like, I'm trying to look for like I mean,
Here's
Dan-
the Toge J. Obviously, you're seeing chat right now, LZ. Blitz count. What's the 03 blitz count?
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I just did really bad math right there. That would be 8.
Very nice setup you have right there, actually.
So there's like 14 up there, and then I probably have like another like 2 or 3 sets just scattered around that are either like built or half built.
8, 12.
Yeah.
I have
16,
a question. Corey.
Yeah.
Almost 10 sets. 10, 12
Yeah.
sets. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and I sold a few sets too. But yeah, I don't know.
Those are just hard to get.
At one point, literally the only reason why I got Blitz is because I was it's kind of a funny story. I wanted to run OG Bronze TEs on my S15 when I was running it in FD because that was my favorite wheel ever.
Of course.
I tried ordering them from a site, and they declined my order because they said that those wheels were too special to be used for drifting. And I didn't have a wheel partner, and I had like 2 sets of 03s because I was starting to collect them. And then I was like, you know what? Screw it. I reached out to 3-Piece US, and I was like, hey, do you want to sponsor me and help me like build these into like the spec that I need for my S15? I was like, you know what? It'll be way cooler to do this than it would be to just go and buy some random wheel. So I did it like as a plan B, not because I ever wanted to do it. I never thought the Blitz 03 was the coolest wheel. It was never my favorite wheel or anything. I just had them because I knew that I wanted to put them on a car at some point. And I just like, once it became a thing, people would just hit me up when they wanted to sell them, and I knew the market. So I would buy them if they were under a certain price because I knew I could flip them and double my money.
For sure.
So it's an investment.
Dude, big facts. And right now, what is a set? What is a set on Blitz right now? Like market. If I was going to marketplace
I think the market softened a little bit. I don't think it's the peak of what it once was, but I'd say a set of 17s, a deal would be like in the low 3,000s, and like average would probably be in like the mid 4,000s. And my threshold for 17s was like, if they were like $2,000 to 2,400, I would buy them.
Yeah.
And then the 18s, you basically like add like another grand. My cap for those was like, I wouldn't spend more than like 2,600, 2,700 on a set of 18s. So I was also buying like not good specs, like all unsplit original wheels, just because I was just using the faces and then getting lips and barrels from 3-Piece.
Yeah, that's the juice. Yeah, that's the juice. Right now, you can't find them anywhere, unfortunately. You have them all. So thanks for hoarding them all. Thanks, dude. Thanks.
I have a question from Martin Heiberg. Will you ever come to Norway, drive Gattabil?
I would love to. It's definitely on the bucket list.
That's like one of those probably sickest events ever, right? Like, so you've never been to Gattabil?
No, I haven't.
Huh. I'm pretty sure you can just like show up and they'll be like, yes, please get in.
Well, I'll need a car to drive.
Yeah, come on.
Freddie,
ship your Corvette out for him.
Osmo has probably plenty of cars over there. You know, like he'll be more than happy to team up with you and like do some drifties.
No, I'd love to go.
What else, Pac?
What else? Alan Smith. Why does ranch belong on everything?
You a ranch guy? Are you a ranch guy?
I'm a no ranch, no sour cream, no salad dressing,
no sauce,
no mustard,
no sauce.
I know. I like barbecue sauce.
I was ready to just hang up on this call.
Like, what?
I like barbecue sauce and ketchup. Everything else, for the most part, not really a big fan.
Okay,
You're
so
American.
hold on. Let's now. You just opened a can of fucking words, dude. What does your cheeseburger look like?
So I'd say like if I custom ordered, like my dream cheeseburger is it's got egg on it, like fried egg.
Okay.
Bacon, lettuce, tomato, onion, and a small drizzle of maple syrup.
No mayonnaise.
And ketchup.
Okay. So
so
ketchup and maple syrup?
So it's literally just a burger that the BurgerFi sells. It's like one of my favorite burgers. I think it also has a hash brown on it too, but I'm not.
Bro,
like, I could do without the hash brown. That sounds good, but
hold on a second. I'm gonna bring something up, and I forgot to ask you this. I was watching
called the breakfast burger.
Yeah, it's a breakfast burger.
Hold
clearly.
on. I'm gonna call you on this, LZ.
Sure.
I was watching the live stream, and Lorette's like, "Okay, we're here in Adam LZ's pits," and the camera pans to you, and you're eating some dry ass baby carrots.
Oh, I did that 100%
with no sauce, and everything that Lorette said just went out the window. I just see you grubbing on these dry ass carrots, and I'm like, how is this dude munching on some dry ass baby carrots right now with no sauce? That
is a real snack that I would have, but I specifically grabbed them out of the cooler because I was like, this is gonna be funny because she was waiting there at the pits for like 5 minutes or so. So I like ran in the trailer. I got my baby carrots. It was definitely intentional.
Because I was like, what the? I seen Turk eat a bell pepper raw. Okay.
Yeah.
And now I see this little tiny plastic bag and the dude's going down on it like a fucking rabbit. I was like, this dude's a cyborg.
I mean, we know you basically live off baby carrots and Go-Gurts.
Bro, so 100%. But the thing is, you know when you get a baby carrot and the ends are split because they're all fucking dry and it's like, I'll still eat it anyways, whatever. Dude, I was dying at that. Yeah, I was dying at that. I didn't know if that was intentional or you memeing or what, but I was just like, this fucking guy.
Yeah.
I mean that's a real snack that I would munch on. Another common thing that people think is really strange is those little tiny peppers. I love those things.
Tiny peppers.
Oh, like the sweet peppers, like a bag of sweet peppers.
Yeah,
they're not bad.
So baby
people
carrots.
think that's the weirdest thing.
Baby carrots, no sauce. You can eat that all day long.
Yep.
I mean, baby carrots, like usually when you pull them off the bag, like they're nice and moist. If they've been sitting for days, they get dried out.
Baby carrots with no sauce. Yeah. See, I could dip them in ranch. I could dip them in, or cut them up, put them in like a nice Italian dressing. Even put some like lemon and lime on top of them. Some tahini.
Oh, dude, do you like tahini?
I'll fuck with tahini.
You fuck with it?
A little bit. I'm not
Hell yeah.
like big into it. So like probably the most adventurous thing that I do to any like cold vegetable. Colette got me into like rather than just eating raw cucumber because that's something that I would do. She cuts them into slices and then puts salt on them.
Yes.
Well, she usually puts oil on them too, but I could do without the oil, just the salt.
All day money.
Cucumber and jicama. Squeeze some lime, tahini. Mwah. It's amazing. It's the best you can like. Yeah. Colette clearly knows her snacks. Where did he go? Greg Richardson, LC World Tour coming back to Australia, and if you could own one Aussie car, what would it be?
I mean, we'll definitely come back to Australia at some point. I don't know when necessarily. If I could own one Aussie car, that's a good question. I'm not a big Ute guy, and that's like the first thing that comes into my mind when I think Australia. Did they have TB48 patrols, or was that only the Middle East? I think they had TB48s.
You're talking the Capris?
No, the patrols.
Oh, the
Nissan
Nissan Patrol, the SUVs.
Yeah, I really want a TB48. It's like do you know what those are? Those engines?
I think Forsberg has one of those patrols, doesn't he?
Does he?
I don't know.
But it's like
it's an SUV. It's like a
inline six. I just want the motor. I don't care about the car.
Oh.
But I'll take the car with it.
Yeah, it's a 5.2
liter. They use them in the Middle East a lot for like
5.2 liter turbocharged inline six is what it is, right? I'm just googling it right now.
I think they're. I would assume they're a 4.8 because the engine code's TB48, but I could be wrong.
Let's see. Hold on. I'm just doing whatever Google tells me.
Googling.
Oh, the TB48 is a 5.2 liter turbocharged inline six engine that's been used in a variety
5. What?
application, including Nissan GQ Patrol.
Is it a 5.2?
I'm asking Google. I have no idea.
Is that the AI answer?
No. Okay, so
what
the
does that
reason
say?
why you think that is because the first thing that comes up is it's a stroked one. That's why it's pulling from that.
I think
it is. I do believe it's a 4.8.
It's a stroked.
I have no idea.
Yeah, so the one on the result is a stroked TB.
I'm about to have a stroke fighting that. It's stroked.
It's a Nissan engine. Every Nissan engine always has the number of the displacement in it, so it makes sense that it's a 4.8.
Caitlin Strickland must ask you a question. She's asking, why mustache? I remember when you went from clean baby face to mustache.
It started as a joke before mustaches became cool, because they definitely became cool. Yeah. It was literally like, I wouldn't say it was a time when I was insecure, but like I wouldn't take photos of myself because I just didn't like the way that I looked. Mm-hmm. And the mustache became a joke to where like I started wearing aviators and grew out a mustache because I thought it was funny to look like a cop.
Yep.
And I was just like, every photo I took became a joke. So I just wound up taking way more photos. Like I didn't think it looked good by any means, but the weird thing was the end result of that was mustaches wound up becoming cool. And like people would stop in the airport and be like, yo, nice mustache, dude.
Stash, bro.
Yeah. And like, girls loved it at the time, which was wild to me because I thought it looked so ridiculously stupid. And I was just like, this is seriously a thing. It's like doing ridiculous things. People, I mean, I guess that's what's in now for fashion too.
Dude,
just like stuff that looks ridiculous.
Obviously, back in the day when Corey was driving FD, you were probably just a wee little lad. But when Corey was in FD, I'm gonna
old me
bother
right
you
now.
a little bit.
Old me right now.
When Corey was in FD, he was like the mustachioed guy. He even had like peel and stick
but you know what's funny,
mustachios.
though, mine started as a joke too.
It started as a joke
it was
as
just
well,
so dumb.
but it stick.
I can't get rid of it. Do you have a hard time shaving yours off now?
Me?
Yeah.
I haven't.
See, that's I
sounds
can't get
about
rid
right.
of mine either,
Yeah.
dude. It's weird now.
If I'm gonna do it, it just needs to be for a good reason. I mean, it'll obviously grow back really fast.
Yeah.
You should do it, like donate the hair for like
eyebrow foundation. Just get some eyebrows.
I don't want to get political or anything. I just remember like there's like a video of like Trump's like eyebrows are kind of like hanging. I guess he has like very long eyebrows.
Donate your mustache.
Yeah,
dude.
just
Clean
put some
up your
little
eyebrows.
mustache on your eyes. All right, moving on. Pixel Babe, first time listener, long time caller, and married to Big Balls Brian. What motivates you to give 100% every time? It's been awesome watching your progress through the FD Pro Series.
That's a really good question. What motivates me to give 100% every time? I mean, I'll be honest. I don't think I give 100% every time. I mean, obviously in an ideal world we would, right? But I'd say the biggest motivation is just wanting to like push myself, knowing that you're capable of something and wanting to see that through. Things really got to line up. And if you don't give yourself the best odds you can, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice. So I don't know. It's a very roundabout way to answer the question, but I'm the type of person that always feels like I could have given more or I could have done a better job. So it's hard for me to sit here and think that I've given 100% when that's like physically impossible for me. I'm spread so thin across so many things that it's really just not where I'm giving 100%, but where I'm giving the most percent.
Let me see. I was going to ask you a question. It's like, you've done a lot of things. You built a lot of cars. You competed on all levels of drifting. Do you still feel there's a lot more that you have on the list of things that you want to do, even though you've completed so much? Like, what is the remainder of this like bucket list thing that you have? Because like you built the cool cars, you've done the premier levels of drift. Like, what is the next things?
My goal with drifting was to podium in FD.
Yep.
That was the goal. So when my first podium in Pro 1 was the first place, like I could have dropped the mic and been done with FD and been okay. Like I did what I wanted to do. I wanted to prove that I could be better than everyone else at least once.
Yep.
I didn't want my identity to be that I am only an FD driver. I didn't want to commit 100% to being an FD driver because it's not where my passion was. It didn't make sense for me financially. Like I am better suited to do other things than to be a dedicated FD driver. And I was pretty much done with FD from that point, at least mentally. I wanted to obviously not give up what I built with RTR, and that's why I did that half season. But when I did one round with my E36 this year, I was kind of just doing it. I was like, we'll just see how it goes. And I think a combination of them switching to the seating bracket, which I really enjoyed, the car being easy to drive, and then also the low stress, good vibes of just being there with the bros.
Yeah.
It's grown to be like one of my favorite things that I do, to where now like I want to be a champion in FD. I can sit here and say that like that is now a goal of mine. That wasn't a goal of mine at the beginning of this year or even the year before. And I think I have the car, I think I have the team, and I think I have the skill to be able to do that. And I think that that's somewhere where I would like to put my time in and try to accomplish.
Okay. What's your goal outside of drifting?
I don't want to say be a better serial entrepreneur, but like I really want to scale and build, sell businesses. Like I really, really enjoy the back end of the exciting growth stages of businesses and being involved in new things. Again, I'm already spread so thin with time that like I'll get great opportunities, but just between LZMFG and Drift HQ alone, I know that if I take on anything more, it's going to be a distraction from those that are both like really deserving of my time right now with where they're at. but like bigger picture life, like that's something that I really enjoy and would like to do more of.
The business stuff. So is that going to be your life after drifting? Is serial entrepreneur?
Yeah, and I'll use the term serial entrepreneur loosely because I would want to be involved in projects that are still around stuff that I'm passionate about. You know, I don't know Pastrana's inner workings of his business deals per se, but it seems like he's involved in a lot of like kind of those startup businesses, and I assume has some sort of equity or involvement or stake of some sort. And I really like the way that he works with companies that I feel like are really natural and endemic to the stuff that he does. And
Yep.
I definitely look up to things that he's done, things that Ken Block has done. And I think there's a way that I could still be able to kind of do the hobbies and stuff that I like, but also be able to be a little bit more involved on the business side too.
That's awesome, dude.
I mean, considering, you know, like your compound, that's a whole giant can of worms that I would like to go into, but not tonight because that's, dude, it's such a sick setup. But do you ever see yourself kind of like becoming like, let's say 10 years in the future, more like a team owner and having drivers under you, you know, like, because one of the things that I notice is that so many kids look up to you, you know, like you're such an influence. I hate, by the way, I hate the term influencer. To me, that's more like a derogative, but you do influence a lot of people and you really seem to be influencing a lot of upcoming people. I want to be like Adam, but you know, obviously a lot of kids will like try to go with the fame aspect of it, but not with the hard work part of it. And I think that's like a lot of people, a lot of kids don't see that. They're just like, oh, you know, Adam, he already has all this stuff, but they haven't seen the struggle. They haven't seen the hustle. And I think like that's where you could excel. Like you know, like some sort of like influence on just work hard for what you want. You know, like keep pushing, ignore the haters, just do what you feel like what you want to do, and you know, you'll probably get where you are. Like, do you see yourself like eventually kind of like becoming like a team owner, kind of like a drifting?
I'll be honest,
owner?
Paco, that question took me on a roller coaster. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
An emotional.
I don't know where you were going with it, but
I understand. So I would say yes. I think the biggest struggle that I have is I don't ever want to do something unless I'm really, really ready to commit to it and give it my all. And like as it applies to being a team owner, I wouldn't want to be a team owner if I didn't know that I could give every driver that drove for me literally the best chances at winning. I would want to know that our formula for cars are dialed. I want to know that our team is dialed. And I feel equipped to say that with the talent pool that I have both in my team and some of my friends outside of my team that are down to work at some of these events, with the knowledge that we've acquired over the years around the chassis that we're driving right now and the engine platform, I could probably take on a Prospec driver, ideally Colette, of course, and give her the best possible chances at winning. But I would never want to take on someone if I didn't think that I could really be the best option. One of my problems as a business owner, as a driver, as everything, I always put myself in other people's shoes, and I will sacrifice a lot of opportunities that could be great for someone because I think that it's not the best opportunity for them, if that makes sense.
it makes sense.
Like I want it to be such a no-brainer win for someone that I won't even present an opportunity if I think that they could find it better somewhere else.
True. It's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Well, dude.
Adam, with that being said, man, like we already took over 2 hours of your time.
Yep.
Dude,
My breezy.
send us the bill.
My breezy. Now I appreciate you,
You're
dude.
good. I mean, I'm just gonna go home and probably play guitar for like a half hour and then go to bed. So
Hell yes.
I'm chilling.
Perfect night,
I'd rather hang out and answer questions that people have. And I'm not tired yet. I had a glass of tea, so I would have, if I went the breezy route, I probably would have said peace about 30 minutes ago because of how tired I am. But I got some caffeine in me, so I'm chilling.
I'm 3 breezes in, and I gotta tell you that 8% really took me by surprise.
Oh, it'll get you.
Yeah,
little
like,
stinger.
that's it. Yeah,
Paco
like,
got a little stinger on him.
I was a little bit like concerned. Like I'm not. Am I slurring my speech, Corey?
One eye's kind of just
One eye's
going
like-
off. Yeah, you're going
yeah.
straight chameleon with one
Yeah.
of those eyes. But.
Sorry, drink breezy. Thank you so much for your drink. It's a tropical juice with 8% of alcohol, pineapple, cranberry, and coconut. 4% real juice. No trash sweeteners, gluten free, and electrolytes.
40% real juice is the biggest flex of that drink.
That's
a lot of real juice.
I noticed the bottom. There's like really like leftover fiber. You know, like.
But you got to shake it, dog.
No, well, I did, but you have to shake it constantly while you're drinking.
Like a fine
I'm
wine.
just gonna like chug it next time. But no, it is good, man. I really tell your buddy he's doing a good stuff. What was his name again?
Tommy.
Tommy. Is he?
Yeah.
So is Noka the same as Breezy, or Noka is kind of like the?
So Noka is the parent company. Breezy is the brand, and Tommy was he was the guy that really popularized us drinking Breezies back in the day. Like we would just be mixing them at the parties. Like that was the only thing that he would drink. So he worked with Noka to develop the formula that is Breezy. Involved a bunch of us that got to kind of be a part of it. And it's just really just like a big friend group thing.
That's
nice.
dope.
That's pretty cool. Don't drink and drive, by the way. If you're watching this, you know, just have Breezies after you're done driving, drifting, whatever. You know, I have to be proactive, Corey, with like,
Sure.
you know.
Sure. I thought that was common sense, but I guess common sense is not so common anymore.
Exactly. Adam, thanks so much for the time,
you,
brother.
dude.
Of course, thank you.
Yeah, bro.
I think it's time to throw the jingle when she said. Just kidding. For those who don't know, like that's like the end of your videos song all the time.
Good job, Paco.
Thank you. That was
Yeah,
terrible.
thanks for explaining.
Thanks for telling us that.
All right,
Have
Adam.
good luck, brother. We'll see
Thanks
you
so
around.
much, man.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Later,
Have
buddy.
a good night.
Bye.
Dude, what a guy, man. Dude, hang up. Like, can't, like, say
I was talking
things
about baby carrots raw.
Dude, I mean, baby carrots are actually pretty good.
They're
like,
great.
yeah.
They're great.
I was going to say, like, it was just fun.
But here's
like,
the thing: is if you have a bag of 100 carrots, there's probably 12 or 15 of them that are fucked up looking. Ends blowing off like you put a hot dog in the microwave for 20 minutes, or there's some ugly carrots in a bag. So if you just sit there and eat them blindly, you might get one that has like
That's
still
a-
an ugly
yeah.
green stem hanging off it, or whatever. Just keep popping
That's
those
true.
things. Like there's some ugly carrots out there.
I don't know, man. I gotta say, like, yeah, like it was funny watching him on FD this weekend when, like, you know, Lorette's camera comes looking at him, and he just looks so chill, just, you know, having a good time. And I think that's what a lot of drivers are missing when they're driving professionally. They get too deep into.
We got to
know.
remember, some people go there for business, and some people can go there for fun with business.
I
That's
agree.
The difference.
I agree.
That's the difference. So I compare this. Competing at the professional level is like, and that's your livelihood. Of course, you're going to be stressed.
Yeah.
If it's not your livelihood, you can go out there and be like, "Oh, this is going to be a fun weekend." And like you said at the end, he's like, he's having fun with the boys in the pits. And some people are there. It's like, I got to make sure I perform so my partner stays with me for next year. And if I don't get a podium this round, they're going to leave me. And that's why there's so much stress behind this. But when you can go there with your buddies, your programs put together.
But do you think, like, as you know, like when you're thinking about your sponsors, like, you think your sponsors care more about you winning or caring more about you putting a good image, showing the people the product, like, you know, like,
What company doesn't want a race winning brand,
obviously people
right?
will want
They
winners.
companies want all the above. They want
Look.
here's what companies want.
Yeah.
Companies wants the driver that can deliver all those things
Yeah.
you just said and winning.
Yeah,
So if you're not doing all of them, they probably don't want.
I agree. But like my example right here will be, for example, Mad Mike. He'd never podium in FD.
No, but he does.
But do you think
Formula Drift Japan?
Okay,
and he does
hold
well
on.
in Formula
But
Drift Japan.
I'm talking about FD. He did 2 years of FD.
Yep.
He never podium.
Yep.
Red Bull didn't just drop him.
No, because the FD was not his main product.
But
That's the
during
point.
during those years,
It wasn't his main product.
I know. But okay, Mazda, Red Bull.
No,
what other brands were on top?
FD's not Mad Mike's main product.
I know it was
Look
not.
at this. Okay, so think about this. Here.
Okay.
Let's look at the other way. Let's pick.
I'm gonna fight you, Corey.
Yeah. Let me just say, who can I think of? Who's a big driver that has a big partner? If they lose that partner, they'd probably be out of drifting. It could really be.
I mean, we don't have to say names because
Yeah,
we don't
no.
wanna,
But I'm just saying. So think about this, right?
yeah,
I'm getting paid X from partner one.
yeah,
And by being there, I got to have the activation set up,
Yeah.
the branding,
Yeah.
and I need to have the performance. The performance is when you get that performance, you get on the podium. It looks good. The photos look good. The other thing that's a perception, right, is imagine like you go to this company's state and they bring out 30 people and you flop in qualifying or flop in the seating bracket. It's not a good representation, so there's pressure. The pressure of all those things make a big difference.
Okay, I agree with you. Like, I mean, if you don't make it out of qualifying, or if you don't make it out like to the,
But it happens.
Even
if you don't make top 8, top 4.
I know. But for example, like
LZ goes there and has fun, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is if 2F Performance puts product in LZ's car and puts money in his pocket, you know you're gonna get the return no matter what he does on the track.
Yeah. Because
he brings more other products. But when FD's your only product, a lot of people make a living out of it. Don't get me wrong.
Oh,
FD is a fantastic organization to create a living, and it does for millions of people. But that's where the pressure of the driver comes in. If you're just selling that one product and you're not performing, you have to sell or figure out another product. So that's where the stress and anxiety comes in. Where LZ looks chill, he has everything while still trying to run Drift HQ, LZ Fest. So even if his partners go, oh, do you know he didn't have a good weekend? Okay, well, guess what? We still have 1 million people going to LZ Fest or LZ World Tour.
Yeah, but I mean, I
still
think,
know there's going to be 20 million YouTube views this month.
I think Adam at some point is a little bit of an outlier because he already has a huge following. But let's say, for example, when you have drivers like more like mid to top tier level, where they're not necessarily. I mean, I'm just gonna say like Turk. This weekend, he won. Obviously, we've seen him driving hard for a long time. He's sponsored by Rain-X. He's sponsored by which big brand on top of that. He doesn't necessarily has to win, and still putting on a good image. I'm pretty sure like everybody who goes to FD events.
It's a small part of it because he has a social following.
Exactly.
He has Papa Doc is behind him, but obviously there's like some partnerships there. He does have that lifestyle behind him, but
he keeps building cars behind the scene,
which is another product. But that's how many people in FD have that.
So that's what I'm asking.
So that's what I'm saying.
Is that what it is?
The pressure relieves when there's other things you can do and not depending on just one thing.
So is that what it is? Like when you're doing FD, you need to be doing more than just
100% you should.
Okay, well, I mean,
because it reduces the pressure, right? So,
or adds to the pressure.
It reduces the pressure. If you
the
have
pressure
something
with sponsors.
Well, here's the thing: is if you had other things to help fund FD, right? If I make, and I'm just once again hypothetically saying because I'm not an expert at this, so don't take my advice. But if I was, let's say, I had a small business, right, and that small business was making me X money, and I could throw some money into the pot that affords part of my drifting. And then another partner comes in, they give me a little bit of money to go drifting. That partner's supporting me, but if that partner still goes away, I still have my pot of money that I am still contributing that allows me to still do that. If I didn't have my other things outside of it and I was solely depending on sponsors, I have to fulfill all their obligations in order to maintain that. The stress of me is knowing I don't have any other money lined up. But if I had a secondary source of income or revenue or products to sell to partners, I wouldn't be so stressed about performing.
Yeah. I mean, and you said because you did Formula Drift for 3 years?
Yeah.
3 years. And so you felt a little bit of that stress at some point?
Oh, 100%. It's all the time. If I was paying for FD myself, right? If I walked up there and I was flipping the bill and I had the money, I would go there and just have fun.
Whatever you want.
Whatever I want. Yeah. But if I didn't and I had to do media obligations, I have to go do YouTube series or product shoots for companies. I have to go out and do a brand release or a product release, and then I have to go perform at the track. I have to get... That's all responsibility of getting that endorsement, that sponsor. So then the racing is... They give you that money to go do that, but you have to do a bunch of other things along with it. That's why I say the more products you offer, and that's why I say LZ has such a good brain for the stuff, is because he has so many resources that are moving and so many tools that are moving that he could sit there and be like, if I don't have a good weekend, it's not the end of the world. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, he still puts products out there. He tells people about the sponsors on his videos. Like, his reach is definitely bigger than other drivers.
He worked for that. That's his product. The thing is LZ was getting partnerships before he was even in FD because of the product that he had. Yeah. A lot of the drivers don't have other products other than the FD thing. Yeah. And this is what I always said, even for myself, I learned this from myself, is that, you go to a SEMA or you go to like PRI and there's 40 drivers that compete in FD. I would say about 30 of them, and this is I'm just throwing rough numbers out there. There's 30 of them that say, here's my sponsor deck, this is what I'm doing, and it's the FD schedule, right? So now I have 30 sponsor decks on my desk that say, I'm competing in 7 or 8 rounds of Formula Drift, and I'm doing this schedule, I'm doing this. What separates those 30 drivers?
Yeah.
Maybe the car.
Yeah.
Maybe a few things, right? But now, if you're, hey, I'm competing in FD, but I have a 1 million subscriber YouTube channel. I have a 1 million subscriber on Instagram. I have a Twitter following of 300,000. I also do this charity work in drift school. Then it's like, okay, so now out of those 30 drivers that have which one are you picking?
Yeah.
The one with the larger portfolio. And that's what LZ has. And a lot of drivers, and I always kept saying this, and because I use myself as an example, I wish I went in and would have had more points of selling or growing or building to make my portfolio or my deck that I'm sending like a menu option. What do you want out of this? And so you use Mad Mike as an option. Mad Mike goes in there with, a BJ Brewery sized menu or a Cheesecake Factory sized menu, and he says, what do you want all of this? Oh, well, I'll sprinkle in some FD2. Oh, but you want a McLaren with the 400 on it? Easy. Oh, you want the Mad Bull? Okay, easy. You want us to go to Japan and go serve the Japanese market? Great. Oh, you want us to go to China and serve the Asian? Okay, great. And then that's why it's like it doesn't matter what you do in so many other places because you're making it up everywhere else.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. Like, as a brand, who we get a lot of emails asking for sponsorships every year. We do get a lot of, like people like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and everybody's doing the same thing. And kind of like what we're looking for is definitely like, what else? What else are you doing? What's on top of all that? What's making you being outside the box, right? So I guess, if anybody's like listening to this and wants to become a pro, like basically try to do that, not being just a pro, right?
Unless you're James Dean.
Well, but James Dean got there by doing all those things, right?
Well, that's the thing is James Dean's been driving since he was
a wee little
lad, and he's the best in the world. And his product is solely around it. It is doable. Don't get me wrong. It is doable. Yeah. It just makes life a lot easier and a lot less stressful when you have different means moving around. You have that menu to sell because it still allows you to drive. It still allows you to compete. It still allows you to do that without the stress of just like, I got to make it this round. Yeah. Because if you don't, say, I'm going to go home and make a video about this. It's still going to get 250,000 views. My sponsors will still love that. I can still go fulfill some deliverables. It's a lot. But anyways, we can go in circles about that.
Corey.
Paco.
It's been a great episode, dude. Like, I'm glad we had this conversation after talking to LZ because you're spitting facts.
We all try to. Even though we're a bunch of potatoes over here, we still try to have fun and share any knowledge that we do have, which a lot of times we don't have knowledge. Sometimes we just make shit up half the time.
We shoot from the hip.
Yep.
But with that being said, I think it's time to let everybody who's watching, let them go to bed because it's late.
Thanks, Dad.
Go to bed, Corey. No texting. Before we go, once again, I want to thank our Patreons. If you want to become a patron of the show, please go to patreon.com/MaximumDriftcast. $1 helps. $2 helps more. $5.
Drop the link in chat, somebody. That's all you got to do is drop the link in chat.
Oh, there you go. $5 buys Corey a glizzy or a coffee.
Yep. We can do that.
And with that being said, I think, Corey, let's go to bed, man.
Like together?
I mean, I don't know. Like,
what are you trying to do? Are you trying to make a move on me?
Is that what we're trying to do?
Let's just go to bed. Okay. That's it. You guys heard? Paco and I are going to bed together.
Good night, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
It's been a great show. Thanks, guys.